Chapter 101. What are you worried about? Kerrigan looked at him and asked. I'm worried, will he really succeed? Vidian muttered to himself. Are you worried that he will hurt you? A smile formed on Kerrigan's lips. Yes, he is like a beast, he will kill me. Vidian lowered his head, his voice choked up, as if he thought of a very scary scene. Your worries are unnecessary. Kerrigan smiled contemptuously, with a cold light in her eyes. Vidian was startled and looked at Kerrigan with some confusion, asking, What do you mean? 13. Do you know what kind of existence alchemy is? Kerrigan looked at him and asked. I know. Vidian nodded. Then you should know how terrifying it is. I understand, but will he hurt me? Vidian asked nervously. Kerrigan nodded and said, Yes. Could he really hurt me? Yes, so I need you to send him to my father and let him see his masterpiece. Kerrigan said coldly, I will not let him destroy everything for you. Vidian seems to be thinking about something. What? Do you have any other choice? Kerrigan's face darkened, and her voice was full of threats. Vidian stuttered and couldn't speak. Remember your choice. Kerrigan said coldly. Remember what I just said, no matter what he does, no matter whether it is harmful to your interests or not, you are not allowed to interfere. Kerrigan warned sternly. I see. So now I have to take him away, I can't let him run around outside. Vidian nodded quickly, Okay, I'll get ready right away. Go for it. Kerrigan waved her hand, and an invisible force enveloped Vidian, and then took him away from the castle. Kerrigan took Liu Jiang and walked on the street. Liu Jiang glanced at the surrounding buildings and frowned. You don't like it here? Vidian asked cautiously. Liu Jiang nodded, this place is too shabby. Vidian's face instantly darkened, this place was just a ruin built hundreds of years ago, but at that time it was the most prosperous place in the city. That's just a small country. Liu Jiang snorted and said disdainfully. Wei Dian didn't know how to explain it, because in his heart, this was true. Don't you believe that there are really gods in this world? Liu Jiang suddenly asked. Vidian shook his head. He didn't believe in gods, but he believed in his eyes more. Along the way, he had witnessed many things with his own eyes, so he already believed in the existence of gods in his heart. But what he still couldn't understand was that Liu Jiang could actually alchemy, which was really unbelievable to him. There are no gods in this world, and no one can become a true god. Kerrigan said. Why? Because in this world, as long as we are human, we have weaknesses. Kerrigan said, his words made Liu Jiang at a loss. What is his weakness? He doesn't know. I'm a human too. Mortals can also create miracles. Kerrigan said. Liu Jiang stopped talking because he didn't know how to argue. Kerrigan continued, so you should study alchemy well, and you may be more powerful than the creator of alchemy in the future. Chapter 102. But I'm not good at alchemy, I'm afraid I will drag you down. Liu Jiang said worriedly, he didn't want to drag anyone down. No, you are thinking too much. Kerrigan shook his head, your alchemy is perfect, you just lack the application skills. As long as you master these, you can maximize the value of alchemy. Listening to Kerrigan's words, Liu Jiang fell into silence. He didn't know what to say. He always felt that Kerrigan was not that easy to fool. Don't worry, I will teach you. Kerrigan patted him on the shoulder and said. Liu Jiang was stunned for a moment and then nodded. I will work hard and hope you will not forget what I said today. Don't worry, I won't lie to you. Kerrigan said, do your best. Yes. Liu Jiang said. The two people continued to walk forward. As they walked, Liu Jiang suddenly stopped and looked ahead. What's wrong? Someone is following me, Liu Jiang said. What did you feel? Kerrigan asked. His breath was very close to mine. Liu Jiang carefully felt the movement around him. He should be one of us. Kerrigan said, accompanied by others. Who among us? Liu Jiang is confused. Kelly. How did she end up hanging out with those guys? I don't know about that. Kerrigan shrugged, maybe she was also under pressure. Forced. Liu Jiang frowned slightly, what is the background of this Kelly? She is Vidian's fiancée. Kerrigan said that Vidian's mother was her wet nurse. Wei Dian's mother is. Liu Jiang was stunned. Vidian's mother is Mrs. Varak. Kerrigan said that she is also the inheritor of alchemy. She is the only woman in the Vidalia family. She has a super high IQ, is proficient in potions, alchemy, weapon refining and other alchemical subjects. She was also a famous great alchemist, known as he is the master of alchemy. That's it. Liu Jiang suddenly realized. She is also the daughter of Vidian's father, Earl Vidalia. She was integrated into the Vidalia family when she was young, where she enjoyed a life of stardom, but she never participated in the family. In the internal struggle, no one even knows where the Vidalia family's sphere of influence is. They only know that this city is the property of the Vidalia family, Kerrigan said, and here, her living conditions are something you can never experience. But I think she is not suitable to be an alchemist. I don't know what made her look like she is today, but she is definitely a very smart girl, she knows how to measure, and she never goes beyond her duty. Moreover, her status in the family is unshakable. If that's the case, why are you still looking for me? Because your ability is too low. Kerrigan laughed. What can I do? Liu Jiang, Jian smiled bitterly, please stop laughing at me. No, you have a good heart. Kerrigan said. I just don't want to bully the weak. Liu Jiang said, but I don't want you to see this kind of thinking. After all, my ability is not enough for me to gain a foothold here. But I can provide you with a better platform. Kerrigan said, for example, the alchemy 2 in my hand alchemy. Liu Jiang was stunned for a moment, you said you knew how to do alchemy. Chapter 103. Yes, I am a master alchemist. No, this is not true, you lied to me. Liu Jiang couldn't believe it. This is not a lie, I really know how to do alchemy, and my alchemy is even more powerful than you think. Kerrigan said proudly. No, no, no. Liu Jiang shook his head constantly, I don't believe you can do alchemy, I don't believe it. Even if you don't believe it, you have to believe that this is a fact. Kerrigan said, do you want to try it? I do not want. Then just listen to my arrangements and you will definitely gain something in the future. Can I ask you a question? Liu Jiang asked. Definitely, if it's not an important question, don't think about me, just ask it. Kerrigan said. I want to know how you incorporated all that alchemy into it. Well. Kerrigan smiled, this is a secret, I can't tell you. Okay. Liu Jiang said, I won't ask. That's so good. Kerrigan patted Liu Jiang on the shoulder, let's go. I'll take you to see my old friend. Who? Liu Jiang said. You will know then. Kerrigan is lying. Liu Jiang had no choice but to bite the bullet and follow Kerrigan. His heart was filled with doubts as to what kind of medicine Kerrigan's gourd contained. Under Kerrigan's guidance, Liu Jiang arrived in front of an old castle. He looked up and saw that the castle was surrounded by stone slabs. On both sides of the stone slabs, there were 4 people standing. A guard. Who are you? One of the gatekeepers stopped Liu Jiang. Oh, I'm his friend. Liu Jiang pointed at Kerrigan and said with a smile. Please wait a moment. The guard said. No need, we can just go in by ourselves. Liu Jiang said. However, the young master has told us that no one else can enter except for a few of us. The guard insisted. But I am really his friend. Liu Jiang said. We must abide by the family rules. The guards are still determined. Aren't you afraid that I will kill your young master? Kerrigan interrupted. You. The guard's expression changed slightly. Although he knew Kerrigan was just scaring him, he was still frightened. How about I call someone for you? Kerrigan looked at the guard's face and said with a smile, Dab. Don't do this nonsense. The guard said with wide eyes. I'm not messing around. Kerrigan said, do you want to disobey orders? The guard snorted coldly, turned and walked away. Come on, I'll take you to meet my guests. Kerrigan said. Liu Jiang followed Kerrigan into the castle and walked along the cobblestone path. Along the way, he saw countless rare plants. There was a giant tree, 100 meters high, with lush branches and leaves, and roots extending tens of meters long. Shining with a metallic luster in the sun. Liu Jiang couldn't help but sigh, he was indeed a wealthy family, but any tree was so expensive. That tree is so big. Liu Jiang pointed forward and asked in surprise, is it the legendary dragon tree? Nagarjuna Kerrigan was stunned. Yes. I once saw in the magazine Alchemy that this is a magical plant in the alchemical world. It has dragon blood and phoenix blood. It is a god in the alchemical world. It has powerful magic power and can cure all diseases, wounds, and possessing powerful self-healing ability, are extremely treasured plants in the alchemical world. Lu Jiang said. Kerrigan asked with a smile that you are so interested in alchemy. Well, I won't hide it from you, I am indeed a master of alchemy, and I have been promoted to a master of alchemy. So what level are you at now? Kerrigan asked. Chapter 104. Kerrigan's eyes widened immediately. He did not expect that this young man was actually a master of alchemy. No wonder you were able to break the magic circle I set up in the desert. Kerrigan murmured, you are really a miracle. Haha, you are great too. I think you are about to become a 6th level alchemy master. Lu Jiang said. Haha, you are quite good at bragging. Is it so easy to master alchemy? I would be proud to become a 3rd level master in this life. Lu Jiang said seriously, there are always things in this world that can stimulate certain potentials hidden in human genes. A person I know has such ability, and he is one of the people I respect the most. Who is that person you are talking about? I want to visit him too. Kerrigan said. His name is Westeros. Master Westeros, my teacher. Lu Jiang said, it's a pity that he disappeared, otherwise I would definitely ask him to teach you, he is my idol. Kerrigan nodded in agreement. Suddenly, he seemed to remember something and asked again, Master Westeros should be dead, right? It is said that he and his apprentices were trapped in a magic circle. Later, the magic circle exploded and the entire tower was destroyed. I don't know, forget it, let's not talk about this, let's talk about it seriously, why did you come to me today? Kerrigan said, tonight, there is a banquet to which many big families have been invited. I hope you can come. Oh, the competition? What kind of competition is it? Aren't you always a loner? Haha, this is a special situation, I need an assistant. Kerrigan said with a smile. Assistant? Didn't you say that I'm just your servant? Lu Jiang smiled. Kerrigan rolled her eyes and said, I said you were my servant, but I was just teasing you. Do you really think you are a slave? I just think you have the potential to become an alchemist master, so I reluctantly how about recruiting you to be my assistant? Think about it. Don't do it. Lu Jiang categorically refused. I am a person with ideals and ambitions, not a loser who just follows the crowd and waits for death. Furthermore, my dream is to build my own empire, not to give it to others. Work to earn a living. Ho ho. Kerrigan said with a smile, your ambition is not small, but unfortunately, you have not even touched the entry threshold of alchemy, how can you build your empire? I am not trying to knock you, there are people in this world who are better than you, too many people. To read Jing Shuang's novels, go to Philo Novel Network. No matter what, at least you are still a master alchemist. Tisk, I don't care. If I wanted to be a master, I would have been already. The reason why I am willing to let you be my adjutant is because you have the ability to alchemy, and we also have a common enemy. Requesting flowers, 0 you mean Cardia Obamayang? Yes, Cardia Obamayang is my enemy and your enemy. Think about it, if my enemy was Cardia Obamayang, do you think I would still ask you to be my assistant? We must kill him first. Kerrigan said angrily. 0 Lu Jiang scratched his head and said, in that case, let's cooperate and deal with Cardia Obamayang together. If we join forces, what else do we have to worry about? What you said is simple, how do we deal with him? The Cardia family is the 2nd largest family in Europe, with a huge power and a large army. What can we use to fight them? More importantly, Cardia Obamayang is very smart. This guy is as cunning as a fox. He is not only good at fighting, but also good at using tricks. His IQ is far beyond that of ordinary people. How can we defeat him? Are you saying that Cardia Obamayang is a genius? Lu Jiang was shocked. Yes, he was awarded the title of Earl when he was 18 years old and married the princess. Since then, he has been keeping a low profile and quietly developing his own strength. He is the wisest person I have ever met. Kerrigan said priest. Chapter 105. After listening to this, Lu Jiang pondered for a long time and said, okay, then we will do as you wish. I agreed, but it is better to keep our relationship a secret. Don't worry, I know. Kerrigan nodded. The two looked at each other and smiled, and then Kerrigan asked again, by the way, you are not just here to catch up with me this time, right? Jiang nodded, well, I came here this time because I was entrusted by someone to purchase a batch of alchemy materials for them, and I also came to experience the alchemy competition. So that's it. Kerrigan said, 593, I'll take my leave now. After Kerrigan left, Jiang sat on a chair, put his hands behind his head, and fell into deep thought. Kerrigan is a very powerful alchemist, but Jiang is not afraid at all. In his opinion, although Kerrigan is also very powerful, he is only a person after all, and this is the Earth, not the alchemy empire. He has relatives, friends, and lovers here. He can sacrifice himself, but no matter what, he cannot push his relatives and friends into the pit of fire. Moreover, Jiang is also a very protective person. He would rather give up his own life than allow anyone to touch their relatives and friends, including himself. Therefore, even if he was facing Kerrigan, he had no fear. However, Jiang still had concerns, because his relatives and friends were all in the Empire, and Blake City, the capital of the Empire, was too far away from downtown Manchester. He had to travel for half a month. Jiang's physical fitness was originally 10 times that of ordinary people. However, if he ran at full speed, he could only run about 8 kilometers at most. No matter how far he went, Jiang would not be able to support it. Moreover, in modern society, there are more and more vehicles. If you ride a horse, a round trip may take 3 to 4 hours. In that case, Jiang will probably be exhausted. After thinking for a while, he walked out of the room and knocked on the door next door. Hello, what's the matter? Alia opened the door and asked doubtfully. Jiang opened the door of the room next to her and said, I'll borrow a place from you. Alia was stunned for a moment, then let Jiang in, locked the door, and asked, what's wrong? Jiang sighed and said, you should know my identity, right? Alia said, I know, you are a thief. Jiang said, then didn't you think that I came to this planet with a mission? Alia nodded and said, I know, you are here to find the teleporter, right? Jiang said bitterly, yes, I must find the teleportation question as soon as possible. Alia said that in fact the teleporter was not lost at all, it was stolen by Cardia Obamayang. Jiang frowned and asked, how could this happen? Alia said, you don't have to doubt that this matter is true. Back then, Obamayang stole the teleporter and dismantled it into several pieces. It was scattered everywhere. I also spent 9. It took a lot of effort to find one of the fragments. Jiang said, is your information accurate? Alia shook her head and said that I didn't know whether the news was accurate, but I had heard people say such things. It is rumored that Picardy Obamayang stole the teleporter at the time, but he did not study it thoroughly. His father was an alchemist. Perhaps he wanted to make a new teleporter after thorough research, so he dismantled the fragments. However, he did not expect that these fragments were not damaged, but were decomposed to form a magical material. What material? A mineral called bloodstone. It is said that the bloodstone can create something called blood crystal core, which can increase the blood level by 2.0 liters and even increase the spiritual value. Are you talking about blood crystal? That's right, it's blood crystal. According to rumors, the reserves of this thing are extremely rare and expensive. Each piece of blood crystal can be sold for a sky-high price. I heard that Cardia Obamayang has spent a huge sum of 500 million pele to buy the blood crystal. Unfortunately, he failed. The blood crystal failed to create a blood crystal core, but the blood crystal has a high technological content. Good materials for making weapons and equipment. Chapter 106. Hearing this, Jiang interrupted her and asked, is this news reliable? Reliable, absolutely reliable, because my friend told me this. My friend is a magician, and a big magician at that. Jiang suddenly understood and said, no wonder you know so many secrets of alchemists. Hehe, don't forget, I am a witch. Jiang suddenly felt creepy. This witch was so scary. Okay, let's not talk about it anymore, let's get down to business. I need your help. Hypothetically, if we go to Blake City, can you give me a flare or a 13-wave transmitter? I can get you a radio transmitter, but I really don't have any flares. As you know, these are so precious that there aren't even a few in the whole of Manchester. Alia said helplessly. Liu Jiang thought for a while and said, forget it, let's find another way. Alia pulled Liu Jiang and said, wait a minute. Liu Jiang looked at Alia in confusion. Alia blinked and suddenly leaned into Liu Jiang's ear and said, actually, there might be one somewhere. Where? You will know if you follow me. Alia dragged Liu Jiang into her room. Then, she opened the drawer of the wardrobe and took out a red box and handed it to him. Here, this is a flare. Liu Jiang took the box and checked it carefully to make sure there was no problem. He put the box away and said, thank you, Alia. You are really my lucky star. I happen to be short of a signal flare right now. With this thing, my mission should be much easier to complete. Alia said, what about me? Do you owe me your life? DB. If that's the case, then hurry up and save my sister. Alia said with a smile, however, you have to help me take care of my mommy and younger siblings in the early stage. I still count on you to help me protect them. Liu Jiang nodded and said no problem, I'll cover it. The two chatted for a while, and then Alia went to bed. Liu Jiang returned to his bedroom to rest. He lay on the bed, closed his eyes and rested for a while, but his mood could not calm down for a long time. Tonight, he finally saw the girl. He must figure out what is happening in this world, and where is that mysterious empire. Liu Jiang thought for a long time and fell asleep. At 6 o'clock in the morning Alia knocked on his door. Get up. Mr. Liu Jiang, get up and eat. Liu Jiang opened his eyes and saw the alarm clock hanging on the wall. It was already 7:30, and Alia woke up earlier than him. He hurriedly got up, washed and dressed, and when he came to the restaurant, Alia just put the omelette on the table. The two simply ate something and then set off. Alia drove Liu Jiang to the pier on the outskirts of the city on a motorcycle and parked on the shore. Liu Jiang jumped on the boat, waved to 230 Alia, turned and left. The sea breeze blew slowly. Liu Jiang sat on the boat and looked at the magnificent sea, feeling proud in his heart. Finally got a chance. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes, mobilized the power in his body, and exerted himself with hypnotic ability. Gradually, a strong feeling of fatigue hit my head, my eyelids became heavy, as if they were weighed down by 1,000 pounds, and there was a possibility of falling into darkness at any time. Liu Jiang desperately tried to hold on and get rid of this sleepiness, but in the end he was still unable to resist the strong tiredness and fainted slowly and helplessly. When he opened his eyes again, he was surprised to find that he was lying on a soft bed. Moreover, the bed was very comfortable, warm and elastic. Chapter 107. Where is this? Liu Jiang sat up and looked around warily. The curtains were drawn tightly, blocking the sunlight outside the window. There were only dim and ambiguous lights on in the room, and an oil painting hung on the wall, depicting a fair, plump girl with long legs. The structure of this room looks like a boudoir. Suddenly, Liu Jiang noticed that there was a photo frame on the bedside table. It was a photo of him and Alia. The two people in the photo were standing under a sycamore tree, with the sun shining brightly on their faces. Although it is just a side profile, it still cannot hide the handsomeness of the boy in the photo, and the heroic look between his eyebrows. He raised his head slightly and looked at the blue sea in the distance. The girl lowered her head, revealing her slender white neck with a shy smile on her face. This photo was taken 20 years ago. Liu Jiang was only 13 years old at that time. Liu Jiang's heart beat faster, and he vaguely guessed where this was. Could it be that this is Alia's home? Where is the text? Who is Alia? A series of questions swirled in his mind. He tried to calm down and observed his surroundings carefully. The display in the room is very simple. Apart from the bed, dresser, sofa, desk, and wardrobe, there are only 2 screens left. He moved lightly, walked around the screen, and saw an oil painting hanging on the wall next to the bathtub, facing the door. The painting showed a scene of 2 people holding hands while traveling. Alia was wearing a light green dress, with long hair shawl, flushed cheeks, and delicate lips. She lowered her head slightly and looked at the boy in front of her with admiration in her eyes. Liu Jiang saw clearly that the boy in the painting was him. And Alia is the girl in the painting. What's going on? How is he in this painting? While he was thinking about it, the door creaked and a girl wearing a white shirt and jeans walked in. The girl has a ponytail and a youthful smile on her face. She saw Liu Jiang sitting on the edge of the bed, with expressions of joy and relief in his eyes, mixed with a hint of guilt. Alia walked to Liu Jiang, took his arm and said, "Dear, are you awake?" Liu Jiang raised his eyes and couldn't help but feel a little strange when he saw the light pink on Alia's cheeks. Why did Alia have such an expression on her face? She didn't look happy to see him awake. No matter what happened, Alia was willing to call him darling, and he would never refuse the title stupidly. "Well, how long did I sleep?" Liu Jiang said. Alia said, "I slept for more than 3 hours yesterday afternoon. I caught up on my sleep this morning. I will call you when I am full. By the way, my parents said they will take you out for a walk later and buy you new clothes by the way." Oh, Liu Jiang nodded. Liu Jiang looked at his watch and asked, "Where are your parents?" Alia said, "My parents are on a business trip. They were afraid that I would get bored staying here alone, so they took me on a trip together." "Traveling?" "They feel quite relieved. If they hand themselves over to a strange little girl, aren't they afraid of what she will do to him?" Liu Jiang couldn't help but frowned. "You don't mind if we leave you to go out to play, do you?" Alia tilted her head and looked at him, her watery eyes shining with a smart, good money, light. Liu Jiang shook his head, "How could that be? I'm just worried that you will be exhausted. You haven't had a good rest in the past 2 days." Alia hugged his arm with a smile, leaned into his arms, and said coquettishly, "Oh, my baby is so considerate. Thank you. I am not tired at all. I like traveling very much, and I have never been with anyone else." "Have been traveling?" Liu Jiang touched her head and said lovingly, "Then prepare yourself well. Let's start the tour tonight." "Yay!" Alia was so excited. Chapter 108. Liu Jiang smiled and pinched the tip of her nose, "See how happy you are? Go and get ready." Alia skipped to the cloakroom, leaving Liu Jiang alone and stunned. He looked at the photo on the bed, stretched out his fingers to touch the girl's sweet smile, and felt a strange feeling in his heart. The originally empty chest seemed to be filled with something, filled with a sense of solid happiness. When Liu Jiang was learning magic, he often studied for several days or even several days without eating at all, so he didn't bother to eat breakfast. But at noon that day, he actually got up for the first time, finished eating, and put on the clean clothes and shoes and socks that Alia specially bought for him. Alia had just finished taking a shower, picked up her wet hair, opened the door of the cloakroom and walked out. 493 Alia wore a light green floral dress, with her black hair hanging down her back. Liu Jiang looked up at her and saw Alia smiling at him and saying, "Honey, am I beautiful?" Liu Jiang nodded slightly and said appreciatively, "Very beautiful." Alia said happily, "Is it true? My parents always think I am too thin and give me various supplements every day. I am so fat." Liu Jiang couldn't help but laugh when he heard Alia describe himself like this. Alia pouted her lips and said something, "Why are you smiling?" Liu Jiang said, "It's nothing, I suddenly feel that you are so cute." Fa, when Alia heard this, she was stunned, and then her pretty face turned red. She stared at Liu Jiang fiercely with her round eyes, and said coquettishly, "I hate it, you're teasing me again." Liu Jiang raised his eyebrows at her and said, "Didn't you force me to say this?" Alia smiled, stretched out her delicate jade finger and pointed at his forehead, saying, "I know who you inherited your poisonous tongue from." Jiang asked, pretending to be confused. Alia blinked and looked at Liu Jiang and said, "Your parents? Haha, look at your personality, it is exactly the same as them." Liu Jiang said helplessly, "I'm not like them, but I'm not that annoying either." Alia approached Liu Jiang, looked at him seriously for a long time, and said, "My dear, I think you are getting more and more handsome. I am going to be fascinated by you." Liu Jiang reached out and hooked Alia's waist and said, "Then stop thinking about other men." Alia immediately covered her chest and said with fear, "You can't deprive me of the right to fall in love." Liu Jiang said softly, "I don't want to be deprived either. However, now I am your only boyfriend, you must listen to me." Alia smiled and leaned over to kiss the corner of Liu Jiang's mouth, and said with a smile, "Yes, my boyfriend." The two looked at each other and smiled, as if they only had each other in the world. After Liu Jiang and Alia packed up, they went straight to the airport. The plane landed in New York, and they drove to their villa in the suburbs. The villa occupies the entire hillside, and the building is vaguely visible on the mountainside. The interior decoration of the villa is luxurious and exquisite. This villa is the private property of Alia's father. The car stopped in the yard of the villa, and they got out of the car with their suitcases. Alia opened the door with the room card and led Liu Jiang upstairs. This villa is very large, and the living room is magnificently decorated with luxurious decorations. Liu Jiang is a magician and naturally has no feeling for these decorations. Alia, on the other hand, was very surprised by the furnishings in the room. Alia pulled Liu Jiang to sit on the sofa and said, "My dear, are you hungry? I asked the kitchen to prepare rich food." Liu Jiang nodded and said, "Okay." Chapter 109. Alia immediately stood up, took the room card and left. Liu Jiang looked around and looked at the scenery outside the window. There are rolling green mountains in the distance and lush woods nearby. The air is fresh and pleasant, making people feel refreshed and relaxed. Alia came back soon, holding a tray in her hand with steaks, hams, sausages, vegetables, etc., and a bottle of 1982 Chateau Lafite wine. Alia put the tray on the coffee table and said, "Dear, please enjoy." Liu Jiang smiled and nodded and said, "Thank you." Alia sat down next to Liu Jiang, and the two chatted while eating. While flipping through the magazines on the table, Alia asked, "Are you attending any activities in the UK this time? Do you need me to accompany you?" Liu Jiang put a piece of beef into his mouth, chewed it slowly and said, "No need. This time I came to see a professor. His name is Professor Rodman Augustine." Alia's eyes suddenly opened wide and she said excitedly, "Oh, I remember Mr. Rodman's name. He is a famous magician who is good at healing spells and has saved countless people. He is my idol." Liu Jiang looked at Alia's excited expression and said, "Do you know Rodman? Then he should be familiar with me." Alia smiled and shook her head and said, "I'm not sure either. However, Mr. Rodman's family information is very detailed, including his wife and children. That's why I know Rod." Alia said, "But don't worry. Although Professor Rodman has retired, he still pays great attention to academic matters. He usually likes to relax at home. Unless his research encounters bottlenecks or difficulties, he will not abandon his work." Liu Jiang nodded. When he was about to ask something more, Alia suddenly came over and whispered, "Dear, actually, the reason why I chose to settle in New York is because I have a dream, which is to do an excellent magician." Liu Jiang smiled and asked, "What is your wish?" Alia took a deep breath and said, "Become the greatest summoner." Liu Jiang smiled and shook his head and said, "You are too optimistic. Your wand is silver white. Moreover, you have not mastered the elements of the summoning system. The so-called summoner must rely on his own efforts and cannot be opportunistic. Otherwise, you will definitely fail in the end." Alia sighed and said, "My dear, you don't understand my difficulties. Although I have not learned summoning spells, I have had a strange dream since I was a child. I hope to summon a unicorn." Asking for flowers 00 Liu Jiang smiled and said, "Summon a unicorn? How is it possible?" Alia said, "How is it impossible? This is just a dream. However, this dream has been with me for 18 years. It is my only dream. Unfortunately, you will never achieve it." Alia lowered her eyes and couldn't help but feel a little frustrated. She said, "I know it too. I'm still just an elementary level magician. Although I have a wand, I can't use it." Liu Jiang comforted her and said, "Don't be discouraged. You are only 17 years old now, and you have enough time to learn the summoner's spells. I look forward to seeing you summon a unicorn as soon as possible." Alia pursed her lips and smiled and said, "I will definitely try my best to complete it." After dinner, the two of them went back to their rooms to take a shower and go to bed. The next day, when Liu Jiang got up, Alia happened to wake up too. The two greeted each other, washed and changed clothes, and then went downstairs to have breakfast together. After breakfast, the two people drove to Rodman's villa. The journey was a bit long, so the two decided to walk to 0. Chapter 110. Along the way, Liu Jiang and Alia chatted about various topics, and most of their topics revolved around Alia's unicorn dream. Liu Jiang smiled and asked, "Alia, if Mr. Rodman agrees to teach you the summoning spells, when do you plan to start practicing?" Alia tilted her head, blinked her beautiful eyes, thought for a while, and said, "I will tell you this question after I meet him. Anyway, I can't stand the days without summoning the 0-17 Master's Wand." Liu Jiang nodded with a smile and said, "In that case, then you should take the time to practice the summoning technique." Alia nodded happily. After arriving at the villa, Alia took Liu Jiang upstairs to meet Professor Rodman. Liu Jiang was confined behind Alia and passed through one house after another. Stopping in front of the third door, Liu Jiang knocked on the door and heard an old and rich male voice coming from inside, "Please come in." Pushing the door open, I saw Professor Rhodes sitting on a swivel chair basking in the sun. Alia introduced to Liu Jiang, "Dear, this is Professor Rodman I told you." Professor Rhodes glanced at Alia, then moved his eyes to Liu Jiang's face, showed a gentle smile, and preached. Liu Jiang stretched out his right hand to shake hands with him and said, "Thank you, Mr. Rodman, it is a great honor to visit." Professor Rodman stood up and invited Liu Jiang to sit on the sofa next to him. Alia said, "Dad, his name is Liu Jiang. He specially came to visit today because he wants you to help guide him in practicing magic spells. I hope you can accept him as your disciple." Alia spoke a little fast, as if she was eager for Professor Rodman to agree, because she was afraid that things would change if she was too late. After all, the Ministry of Magic's investigation team is still looking for traces of Liu Jiang. After Alia finished speaking, she looked at Professor Rodman. Liu Jiang remained silent, waiting for Professor Rod's reply. Professor Rodman looked at Liu Jiang and asked, "Mr. Liu, are you willing to become my teacher? I am very happy to receive such a good talent like you." Liu Jiang was stunned for a moment, then immediately bowed respectfully and said, "Definitely. Thank you very much. I will wholeheartedly dedicate my professional skills in magic and will definitely help you solve your problems." Professor Rodman nodded with satisfaction and said, "Well, good. Starting from tomorrow, you will report here every Saturday. How about it? Your spell course will be taught by your teacher, you only need to listen to the class. I will bear all your tuition fees. I can also provide you with some basic spell training for free. Such a multi-purpose thing, I think it's a win-win situation." What Professor Rodman said is exactly what Liu Jiang meant. Liu Jiang agreed without hesitation, "Yes. Thank you, Mr. Rodman." After leaving the villa, Liu Jiang drove back to the hotel. In the car, he remained silent. Alia turned her head and glanced at Liu Jiang for a few times, and asked tentatively, "Dear, are you still struggling with the unicorn dream I mentioned to you last night?" Liu Jiang turned to look at Alia and said, "That's right. I would love to be a summoner. Whether it's really summoning a unicorn or summoning 0.9 to summon a flame bird, it's all worth it to me." 0112042113 Fila 173500090 Arya frowned and said with some anxiety, "But, you know, my dream is not just to summon unicorns, but to summon unicorns and holy Pegasus. But, this process is very complicated. Hardships. My parents were also depressed because they could not complete the summoner's magic. So, you have to be fully prepared. I don't want to see you fail." Chapter 111. There was a strong sense of concern in Alia's tone, which moved Liu Jiang even more. He smiled and said, "Alia, I am fully prepared. To be honest, I have learned summoner magic in my family, so I am still very familiar with summoner magic. As for the images and implementation methods of the magic you described, I know it very well. Only summoning magic requires a lot of money to support. So, I have to make money through work study. You know, civilians like me have limited ways to make money. I only get paid if I work hard." Alia nodded and said, "Yes, I understand. However, I believe that you will succeed. I also want to become a summoner. But I still lack a lot of savings, so I'm troubled by this now." Liu Jiang said, "Alia, actually, you don't have to be impatient and save money slowly. I believe that one day, you can have a summoner's wand of your own. We can make an agreement in 3 chapters. Unless absolutely necessary, I will never reveal the secret of your summoner, nor will I reveal your existence to anyone. This will ensure that you won't get into trouble. In addition, I will also keep secrets for you and will never reveal your secrets. Do not worry." Alia breathed a sigh of relief when she heard this. She happily hugged Liu Jiang's arm and shook it and said, "Liu Jiang, you are the best, he. I love you to death. You are such a warm man. I really want to stay here forever and accompany you all my life. However, I still like the excitement. When you become a summoner, I will definitely be admitted to the magic world. By then, we can get along day and night." He. Liu Jiang was amused by Alia's exaggerated performance. Liu Jiang caressed Alia's long black hair and said dotingly, "Fool, we could have gotten along day and night." Alia pouted and said, "Who said that? You are in New York now, but I am going to England. I don't want to live in separate places." Hum. We must move to London in the future. Liu Jiang nodded, "Okay, I'll listen to you." Alia hugged Liu Jiang's neck and kissed Liu Jiang on the lips. Immediately, he asked in a sweet voice, "Are you hungry? What do you want to eat? I'll invite you to the restaurant for dinner." Liu Jiang shook his head and said, "Today, let's go to the cafeteria to eat." Alia said, "But our schedule for tonight is not to go shopping?" Liu Jiang smiled and said, "I suddenly thought of something. How about we go find Steven?" Alia asked in surprise, "Looking for Steven? Why?" Liu Jiang said, "Steven is an excellent potion master. Moreover, Steven is good at making various magic crystal balls. I remember that Steven should have a rare crystal ball in his hand. If we can summon an elf with the help of a crystal ball, then we can successfully summon a unicorn? In this way, wouldn't it save half of your gold coins?" Alia quickly nodded in agreement with Liu Jiang's suggestion, "Great. I have long heard that Steven is good at making all kinds of weird things. If we can borrow his treasure to summon a unicorn, our trip to the UK will not be in vain. Let's go." After Alia finished speaking, Laja walked forward. Liu Jiang and Alia found Steven and told them the purpose of their trip. Steven was obviously also attracted by the scene of summoning a unicorn described by Alia. Steven took out the crystal ball that he had treasured for a long time and said, "This crystal ball was indeed made by me." Chapter 112. Steven opened the crystal ball and asked Alia and Liu Jiang to inspect the goods. Arya said happily, "Wow! This crystal ball is more beautiful than the ones on the market. Steven, can this crystal ball help me summon a unicorn?" Steven shook his head and said, "Although the crystal ball was made by me, it can only help ordinary summoners use magic. Unicorns are not mortal things, and this crystal ball cannot help you summon unicorns at all." Alia was extremely frustrated, pouted and asked unwillingly, "What should I do? Do I have to make money on my own to buy a magic wand?" Liu Jiang said, "Don't worry, now that you have this crystal ball, you can use it to summon some magic elements to enhance your strength." Alia raised her little face, looked at Liu Jiang expectantly, and asked, "How to do it?" Liu Jiang smiled slightly, stretched out his hand to ruffle Alia's long hair, lowered his head and whispered a few words in Alia's ear. Alia's face was red with embarrassment, she gritted her teeth and glared at Liu Jiang angrily, "You, how could you bully me like this, you bad guy? I hate you so much, ugh, I hate you so much, you BD, I will never pay attention to you again." Alia ran away crying, leaving Liu Jiang standing there at a loss. Steven looked at Liu Jiang's stunned look and couldn't help laughing. Liu Jiang came back to his senses, looked at Steven in confusion, and asked, "What's going on? What did you say to Alia just now?" Steven pointed to the elf next to Liu Jiang and said, "This elf is called Carl. You can call it Katrina. It is a young elf. According to my observation, this is a mutated elf. The specific species is unknown for the time being. However, its combat effectiveness is not bad, even better than ordinary unicorns." Liu Jiang looked at Carl in confusion and asked, "Are you sure? This is a larval elf. Moreover, it is still underage." Steven nodded and said, "That's right. Therefore, if you want to domesticate it, I am afraid it will cost a lot of time and money. Have you really decided to tame it?" Liu Jiang replied without hesitation, "Definitely." Steven said, "However, you have to understand that not every trainer is qualified to contract with unicorns. Because once you choose the path of unicorn contract, you will have to shoulder many responsibilities that ordinary people cannot bear. For example, in the Magic Academy, it is forbidden to adopt unicorns without going through strict review." Liu Jiang retorted, "Steven, I don't think there is anything wrong with adopting a unicorn. Just because unicorns are rare, their value is higher. I can guarantee that I don't need to pay any price. I can buy unicorns with my personal wealth alone, and tame them for my own use." Steven said, "I understand what you mean. You mean that you personally have enough money to buy a unicorn, right?" Liu Jiang nodded, "Yes, that's right. I can tell you with certainty that I am personally worth tens of billions of dollars. I believe this huge amount of money is enough to buy a unicorn." Steven's eyes were shining as he stared at Liu Jiang and said excitedly, "Are you serious?" Liu Jiang nodded heavily and said, I never joke. Steven said, okay. In that case, I will sell you a favor and give you a unicorn in exchange. However, I have to say something ugly beforehand. The crystal ball in my hand can only help summon unicorns. If you want to summon a complete unicorn, you need your own efforts. Definitely, if you are lucky, you might even be able to summon a female unicorn. Chapter 113. Lu Jiang asked, what should I do if I summon a female unicorn? Steven laughed and said, it's very simple, just take the female unicorn home, let her get pregnant and give birth to a baby, and then breed the unicorn after the baby is born. This process is easy, but I am afraid that all the babies born after the female unicorn becomes pregnant will be kittens or other elves, which are not suitable for breeding into unicorns at all. Lu Jiang frowned, is this okay? I've heard that unicorns born from female unicorns are very powerful. If it's a female unicorn, even if it's just a kitten or puppy, we'll do it receive them all. 070 Steven shrugged and said, that just means you were unlucky and didn't meet a female unicorn. Lu Jiang was silent for a moment, then changed the subject and said, Professor Steven, I would like to ask you a question. Regarding how to tame magical elements, if I can master the tricks, will I have a chance to summon a unicorn? Become an animal tamer. Steven touched his beard with a thoughtful expression and said, according to conventional circumstances, as long as the animal tamer has strong magical power, he can tame magical elements and obtain magical elements. However, I just reminded you that the magic elements of unicorns are very violent and domineering, and ordinary magicians cannot control them at all. Therefore, the beast tamer is likely to encounter a backlash and end up in a miserable ending. So, if you are willing to take the risk and try, if so, I suggest you find a powerful beast taming master. They should be able to suppress the magic elements. Lu Jiang asked, Professor Steven, what can you do? Can you describe it in detail? I really need that kind of animal trainer. Steven thought about it for a while and said, I have a set of spells in my memory that specifically target magic elements. When I find the original manuscript of that set of spells, I will explain it to you in detail. Lu Jiang said gratefully, thank you, Professor Steven. If you can successfully find the original set of spells, I will reward you heavily. Steven smiled heartily and said, you're welcome, I already owe you 2 lives. It's just a set of spells, it's nothing. After leaving the Magician Association, Lu Jiang rushed directly to the largest ranch outside the city. This ranch belongs to the Duke of Rockmaid and is jointly managed by the Duke and his wife. Before Lu Jiang arrived at the Duke's mansion, the Duke had already known that he would come today and specifically ordered his servants to lead him into the living room. Lu Jiang walked into the living room and saw a man and a woman sitting on the sofa. The man has a tall build, dark and rough skin, and a resolute face. But the woman has a beautiful oval face, white and soft skin, and delicate and beautiful facial features. The two of them were dressed luxuriously and elegantly, and behaved dignifiedly. Lu Jiang nodded slightly and said politely, I have met Mr. Duke and Duchess. The man is Duke Rockmaid, King Rockmaid, Keller Rockmaid, the woman is Duchess Keller, Bella Keller. Duke Keller smiled and nodded, and then introduced his wife to Lu Jiang and said, Lois, this is your aunt, Emma Bell. Your aunt always likes to travel around to relax, and she happened to return to Bray today. Dun Forest Ranch, I invited her to come and take a look. Lu Jiang showed a friendly smile to Bella Keller and said, hello, Auntie. Bella Keller looked at Lu Jiang with a smile and said, Lois, I heard that your father is a great magician. Have you inherited his good genes? It seems that you are not bad at all. Bella Keller was once a famous big shot when she was young. Although she is a little older now and is no longer as heroic as she used to be, she still retains her charm. Chapter 114. Caleb Bellow's character is very similar to hers. He is bold, warm-hearted, and treats others with unstinting praise. This time, she and her husband went to Bretton Woods in person, just to see what kind of person this eldest son of the Lu family, who was known as a magical miracle, was. Bella Keller looked at Lu Jiang up and down, and the more she looked, the more pleased she became, and said, you are indeed a descendant of Lu Yunji. Not only is he handsome and charming, but his temperament is also top-notch. If this were placed in ancient times, he would be a peerless handsome man sought after by thousands of girls. Lois, no wonder I heard others say that your academic performance is excellent. It turns out that you inherited your father's excellent genes. Lu Jiang said modestly, Aunt, I'm afraid my results are slightly inferior to those of my father. Keller shook his head and said, how is this possible? Liu Yunji was a famous magic genius in the empire back then. He was a top candidate in all aspects of medicine refining, weapon refining, formations, etc. How can you kid at your age? Even your father is nowhere near what you have achieved today. Liu Jiang was deeply encouraged by Bella Keller's evaluation. Liu Jiang secretly planned that after returning to Bretton Woods, he would study behind closed doors and study the magic elements. In this way, you can save a lot of trouble. Liu Jiang chatted with Mrs. Keller for a few words, then stood up and left, rushing to the city center to find the branch of the Magician Association. Liu Jiang wandered around the city center for a long time, and finally stopped at a high-end magic decoration store and walked into the store. A well-dressed young clerk immediately came up to him and greeted him eagerly, "Sir, what do you need?" Liu Jiang looked around and said, "I want to buy some magic rune stones." "Oh." The young man was stunned for a moment and asked, "Sir, are you sure you want to buy it? As you know, magic rune stones are not cheap." Liu Jiang took out the banknote and handed it over. "Money is not a problem. Prepare everything I need as soon as possible." The young waiter was overjoyed and enthusiastically took Liu Jiang to the counter to pay the bill. After the clerk sent the list of magic rune stones to the counter, a middle-aged magician picked up the list and read it carefully. After scanning the types of magic rune stones, he looked up at Liu Jiang and said, "These rune stones are newly launched products in our store and they are very effective. If you sincerely want to buy them, you can go to the warehouse of our store to choose them. The payment and price are definitely lower than what I quoted you. Do you want to consider it? Please give me flowers." Liu Jiang said indifferently, "You can help me pack these magic rune stones and send them to the pasture on the outskirts of the city. As for the price, let my uncle negotiate with me." Liu Jiang was not in a hurry to check out. Instead, he took out another list from his pocket and threw it on the counter. The middle-aged magician looked at him doubtfully and said, "Don't you swipe your card?" Liu Jiang said calmly, "This money is paid to you in advance." The middle-aged magician was stunned, "You paid it to me in advance?" "That's right." Liu Jiang warned him coldly and said, "You are only responsible for helping me prepare all the rune stones, and I will do the rest of the work myself." The middle-aged magician frowned and asked, "Isn't this inappropriate?" Liu Jiang said, "Since I have decided to hire you, you are my actor. According to the rules, I should pay your salary in advance. It is okay to make up for this fee to me after you have reaped huge profits. However, at this stage, I need you to cooperate with me and help me tame the magic elements, otherwise, I will not pay you any wages." As soon as Liu Jiang finished speaking, his expression changed due to the evil calamity. Chapter 115. Liu Jiang's words are obviously a naked threat. However, the other party is a young master from a wealthy family with a strong background, and he cannot afford to offend him. The middle-aged magician thought for a moment and finally compromised. He took the list and looked through it carefully. Soon, Neon Magic Tribulation found the magic runes Liu Jiang needed. The middle-aged magician pointed to a few magic rune stones on the list and said, "These magic rune stones are all good, 960, you can consider taking a look." Liu Jiang glanced at the list, pointed at 2 pieces, and said, "Just these 2 pieces. Good." The middle-aged magician immediately ordered the clerk to get the order. He picked up the pen, wrote down the contract, stamped the magic seal on the magic agreement, signed and stamped it, handed the 2 contracts to Liu Jiang, and said, "Sir, the contract has been signed, and I will also arrange a special appraiser here. I will help you verify the authenticity of these magic rune stones and I will notify you as soon as the identification results come out." Liu Jiang nodded in agreement. The middle-aged magician handed another badge to Liu Jiang and explained, "This is the VIP medal issued by our magic association. With it, you can come to the business store to redeem the magic stone from me at any time. I wish you a happy shopping and goodbye." "Goodbye." Liu Jiang put the badge on his chest and left the store. This badge is made of metal and is carved into the shape of a mountain. There is a red gemstone at the bottom of the badge, which emits a soft and warm light. This badge is exactly the one Liu Jiang spent money to buy at the magic trading company. Liu Jiang hung the badge around his neck, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and showed a satisfied smile. Then, he raised his hand to stop a taxi and headed straight to the farm on the outskirts of the city. At the farm on the outskirts of the city, Liu Jiang met Lloyd, who had arrived early. He was practicing magic skills with Alice in the yard. Seeing Liu Jiang, Alice shouted happily, "Brother! You are here!" Liu Jiang waved to her, "Alice, you play first, uncle and I have something to discuss." Alice nodded obediently, sat under the shade of a tree, and patiently looked at the three ids. Liu Jiang walked up to Lloyd and asked, "Uncle, how are you doing?" Lloyd nodded and said, "I have mastered the elementary level fireball technique. However, my mental power is limited. When I use the fireball technique, my mental power will be overdrawn, so the training time every day must be kept at about 2 hours. This is what I can persist at the moment. The longest training time." Liu Jiang said, "Very good." Lloyd added, "Although my magic ability is not high, my mental power is very strong. In the Magic Academy, besides you, I am the second highest ranked magician. Magicians are divided into 3 levels, elementary level, medium level, and high level. They are actually 3 major realms, which respectively represent the degree of strong spiritual power and the level of magic." Liu Jiang said, "It's amazing." Lloyd shook his head and said, "It's nothing." After a pause, Lloyd continued, "I heard that your cultivation speed is also very fast? It is said that you are less than 10 years old. Promoted to a medium-level wizard at the age of 15? It is incredible. No wonder my father always praises you for your intelligence. It's 0.6, I didn't believe it at first. But now I see your fireball technique, and I believe it." Liu Jiang said modestly, "What's so surprising? It's just because I train diligently on weekdays." Lloyd sighed, "Well, I'm much worse off. I've been in poor health since I was a child, and my magic ability is not very good. I can't catch up with you at all. You see, I didn't even take the magician's entrance test." Chapter 116. "Uncle, don't be discouraged." Liu Jiang comforted him, "I remember that when you registered in Olin's magic martial record before, you filled in the word magic waste. As long as you practice hard, you will gradually improve. I trust you." After hearing this, Lloyd regained his confidence and solemnly said, "I will continue to work hard." After the two chatted, Liu Jiang told him that after dinner, he would take Alice to the ranch on the outskirts of the city. "Going to the ranch on the outskirts of the city? What are you doing?" Liu Jiang replied, "I want to raise some horses." The ranch is a private hunting ground for monsters, where various rare monsters are raised. Liu Jiang wanted to take this opportunity to catch some rare monsters and give them to Alice as gifts. When Alice heard Liu Jiang's suggestion, she immediately clapped her hands and applauded. Roy also found it very novel, so he said, "Then you get busy, I won't delay you anymore, I have to prepare a meal." Liu Jiang said, "Thank you for your hard work." Lloyd waved his hand and said, "You're welcome, I want to eat meat too." Liu Jiang smiled and said, "Okay, I'll bring it back to you later." After lunch, Liu Jiang took Alice's hand and walked out of the large iron gate of the ranch. Outside, the stables have been waiting for a long time. Liu Jiang led Alice onto the saddle, with 2 guards following closely behind them. They walked a few hundred meters south along the street and saw a dense forest. Alice looked up at the towering giant trees and exclaimed, "Wow! It's so spectacular." Liu Jiang said, "This is a forest pasture where many fine breeds of horses are raised." Alice asked excitedly, "Do you want to ride a horse?" Liu Jiang declined implicitly, "I can't ride a horse." Alice lowered her head in disappointment. Liu Jiang gently stroked her back and comforted her and said, "I can teach you to ride a horse. You are now 6 years old and can ride a horse alone. Moreover, if you learn to ride a horse, you can go hunting and catching in the forest in the future. You can hunt pheasants, rabbits, or wild deer, and even goats, antlered oxen, and other game, which will satisfy your family's appetite." "Yes." Alice's eyes were bright. "But," she thought about it and frowned, "but my magic power is too low." "I will replenish your magic power for you." Liu Jiang said, "As long as you do what I say." "Yes." Alice nodded vigorously and said, "I will practice my magic power and strive to be promoted to medium-level magician as soon as possible. Then I can help my mother and you." Liu Jiang rubbed the top of her head, "Good girl." After being praised, Alice became more motivated. She was eager to give it a try and wanted to run into the forest now. Liu Jiang told her, "Alice, run 2 laps on the grassland first to familiarize yourself with the environment. Remember, don't go too far into the forest, only move around nearby, and especially don't go to the Abyss Swamp area. Why? Alice blinked in confusion. Liu Jiang said, there are dangerous monsters deep in the forest. If you encounter danger, it may be too late for you to escape. 370. Oh, that's it. Alice nodded in understanding, then I will listen to my brother. Liu Jiang said, then you go. Okay. Alice jumped away from Liu Jiang's sight and ran towards the forest. Her figure disappeared into the lush grass. Liu Jiang raised his head and looked up at the clear blue sky, with a slight arc at the corner of his mouth. Alice quickly ran away. Liu Jiang stopped his smile and ordered in a deep voice, take out the things. The two guards responded and placed the package on the ground. Liu Jiang untied the black leather boots that tied his legs, put his feet into the leather bag and took out 4 gold coins. The two guards were surprised and said, Master, what are you doing? Chapter 117. Liu Jiang smiled and said, this morning, I met Elif at the city hall, and he recommended these 4 silver ingots to me as a reward. The guard suddenly realized, that's it. Liu Jiang handed 4 silver ingots to one of the guards. Another guard took the 4 silver ingots and said, Master, we need to keep some of the money, and I will give you the rest. Liu Jiang shook his head and said, no need. You have followed me for many years and are loyal. I cannot favor one over the other. Besides, I am not short of money now. Don't worry, these silver ingots are enough for you to spend for a while. Wait 2 years before you consider getting married and having children. Liu Jiang put the silver ingot in their hands. The guards were grateful and ashamed at the same time. They knew Liu Jiang had ability, but they still wanted to embezzle his money. Damn it! In the evening, Liu Jiang and Alice finally returned home. Lloyd was making dinner in the kitchen. When he saw them, he immediately greeted them with a smile, welcome back, Liu Jiang. Alice! Alice shouted crisply, Uncle! Well! Lloyd smiled, is Alice exhausted today? Go and change some clothes. Okay. Lloyd brought the last dish to the table and said to Liu Jiang, it's time to start dinner. You have to rest for a while, and we will drink tea and chat later. Liu Jiang smiled and nodded, thank you uncle for your concern, I understand. Lloyd smiled, turned around and walked out of the house, calling the other 3 people to come over for dinner. At the dinner table, Lloyd said to Alice, where do you want to go on the weekend tomorrow? Alice tilted her little face and said, I want to go horseback riding in the forest. Dad, why don't you go with me? Alice pesters Lloyd to act coquettishly. Lloyd shook his head helplessly, why are you so willful? Because I like riding horses. Alice said with her rosy mouth. I have wanted to be a brave and powerful war king since I was a child. Lloyd couldn't help laughing, it's a good thing if you want to be a warrior. But, you are not an adult yet, so you can't ride a horse. Then you go with me. Alice hugged Lloyd's arm and shook it hard, coquettishly. Lloyd couldn't resist his daughter, so he had to promise her to accompany her to the forest tomorrow. Alice was so happy. Liu Jiang looked at Alice's smiling face, with a doting look on his lips. Before nightfall, Liu Jiang went back to his room to sleep, and told Lloyd and Alice to take turns keeping watch. Both Lloyd and Alice agreed. The two were chatting in the courtyard. Lloyd suddenly sighed and said, Alice, I always feel that this training is not that simple. You have to be careful. Alice asked him with a smile, how do you know? Do you also know how to practice magic and martial arts? Haha, Lloyd smiled heartily, no, I can't. But you will definitely run into trouble. I'm not afraid of trouble. I hope so. Lloyd patted Alice on the shoulder and comforted her, Alice, I believe you will succeed. Alice smiled sweetly and nodded, I believe in myself too. Alice stayed in the forest for 2 full days. She goes to see her brother Liu Jiang every half an hour or so. She enthusiastically took Liu Jiang to visit various landscapes in the forest, such as tall palm trees, green vines, swamps covered with moss and algae, yes, that's good, and a gurgling stream. I have traveled to the forest several times with my brother, so I know this forest very well. Alice said proudly, I also discovered many rare medicinal materials. Alice pointed to a plant full of young leaves and said to Liu Jiang, this is called white feather flower, which has the effect of repelling cold and health care. She pointed to another flower called agave and said, it can purify aphrodisiac herbs and has miraculous effects in treating rheumatism, pain, and itching. We can pick it back and make soup to drink. Liu Jiang smiled implicitly and said nothing. Chapter 118. Alice continued, I also found a giant banyan tree deep in the forest. It can be big or small, with lush branches. We set up tents there to stay and dug a lot of mud to bury them in the hole inside to prevent being attacked by beast. Liu Jiang listened silently. After Alice finished talking, Liu Jiang asked, what did you dig there? We are digging matsutake mushrooms. Matsutake mushrooms are very fragrant and are perfect for stewing chicken. Liu Jiang smiled and said, I remember when I was a child, my mother's stewed matsutake chicken was very fragrant. Later, we will also try the matsutake chicken. Alice's eyes were bright. Great, let's eat matsutake chicken together. I know there are some hares in Forest 180. My mother told me that the matsutake chicken here is the most delicious. Liu Jiang smiled and said nothing. Alice suddenly said, Brother, I want to eat your roasted flame bird. Flame birds are not delicious. I'm not good at this. Why don't we learn from Alice and garden grouse? Liu Jiang coaxed his sister softly. Although the two brothers and sisters are not as close as other brothers and sisters, Liu Jiang still loves and takes care of her and tries his best to meet all her requirements. No. Alice pouted her red mouth and said, I just want to eat the pine mushroom chicken roasted by my brother. Alice is stubborn. Liu Jiang touched her soft head and said gently, Okay, I'll give it to you. You're so good, my good brother. Alice leaned forward and kissed him, I'll help you, okay. Liu Jiang was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Alice took him to the kitchen and helped him with the matsutake chicken. The brother and sister cooperated tacitly and soon cleaned up the matsutake chicken. Alice took out a bamboo stick, threaded it through 2 chicken legs, and inserted them into the abdominal cavity of the matsutake chicken. Liu Jiang took salt, green onions, and ginger and put them in the pot to season them. Number brother, are these enough? Alice asked expectantly. That's enough. Make the fire brighter, and don't forget the firewood. Liu Zihudi. Alice stared at the fire carefully. She kept paying attention to the pot, watching the flames jump a few times, then reached in to add more firewood until the fire became strong. The matsutake chicken exudes an alluring aroma that hits your nostrils. Alice swallowed and urged Liu Jiang, Brother, it's okay. Liu Jiang opened the lid of the pot, and immediately, the rich aroma of matsutake filled the air. The brother and sister smelled the aroma at the same time and both moved their index fingers. Alice picked up the bamboo skewer, picked 2 pieces of chicken legs, handed one to Liu Jiang, and took a bite of the chicken wings. Liu Jiang tore off a chicken wing and handed it to her, Be careful. Alice giggled, opened her mouth and bit off the chicken wing frame. The meat of the matsutake chicken is very tender, the meat is juicy and juicy, the meat is crispy and chewy, the meat is firm and smooth, the mouth is soft and smooth, and the taste is sweet and mellow. Alice sighed and praised, It's so delicious. Liu Jiang smiled lightly, lowered his head and slowly stood up. At this time, footsteps were heard in the distance. Alice was so frightened that she shrank to Liu Jiang's side. A man ran over and gasped, Alice, Alice, I'm here to take you back. I was passing by just now and saw your car parked at the door. I thought you were running around again. We should go back for dinner. Alice hid behind Liu Jiang, stuck her head out and said, You go first, I'm going to spend the night here with my brother tonight. The man looked stiff. Seeing this, Alice quickly added, Don't worry, my brother will protect me. Liu Jiang raised his eyes and glanced at the man, snorted, Get out. The man's face turned red and he left in a hurry. Chapter 119. Stephen opened the crystal ball and asked Alia and Liu Jiang to inspect the goods. Arya said happily, Wow! This crystal ball is more beautiful than the ones on the market. Stephen, can this crystal ball help me summon a unicorn? Stephen shook his head and said, Although the crystal ball was made by me, it can only help ordinary summoners use magic. Unicorns are not mortal things, and this crystal ball cannot help you summon unicorns at all. Alia was extremely frustrated, pouted, and asked unwillingly, What should I do? Do I have to make money on my own to buy a magic wand? Liu Jiang said, Don't worry, now that you have this crystal ball, you can use it to summon some magic elements to enhance your strength. Alia raised her little face, looked at Liu Jiang expectantly, and asked, How to do it? Liu Jiang smiled slightly, stretched out his hand to ruffle Alia's long hair, lowered his head and whispered a few words in Alia's ear. Alia's face was red with embarrassment, she gritted her teeth and glared at Liu Jiang angrily, "You, how could you bully me like this? You are a bad guy. I hate you so much, ugh, I hate you so much. UBD. I will never pay attention to you again." Alia ran away crying, leaving Liu Jiang standing there at a loss. Stephen looked at Liu Jiang's stunned look and couldn't help laughing. Liu Jiang came back to his senses, looked at Stephen in confusion, and asked, "What happened? What did you say to Alia just now?" Stephen pointed to the elf next to Liu Jiang and said, "This elf is called Carl. You can call it Katrina. It is a young elf. According to my observation, this is a mutated elf. The specific species is unknown for the time being. However, its combat effectiveness is not bad, even better than ordinary unicorns." Liu Jiang looked at Carl in confusion and asked, "Are you sure? This is a larval elf. And, it's now for minors." Stephen nodded and said, "That's right. So, if you want to convert it, I'm afraid it will cost a lot of time and money. Have you really decided to watch it?" Liu Jiang replied without hesitation, "Definitely." Stephen said, "However, you have to understand that not every trainer is qualified to contract with unicorns. Because once you choose the path of unicorn contract, you will have to shoulder many responsibilities that ordinary people cannot bear. For example, in the Magic Academy, it is forbidden to adopt unicorns without going through strict review. Please give me flowers." Liu Jiang retorted, "Stephen, I don't think there is anything wrong with adopting a unicorn. Just because unicorns are rare, their value is higher. I can guarantee that I don't need to pay any price. I can buy unicorns with my personal wealth alone, and tame them for my own use." Stephen said, "I understand what you mean. You mean that you personally have enough money to buy a unicorn, right?" Liu Jiang nodded, "Yes, that's right. I can tell you with certainty that I am personally worth tens of billions of dollars. I believe this amount is enough to buy Yusong unicorn." Stephen's eyes sparkled, staring at Liu Jiang, and said excitedly, "Are you serious?" Liu Jiang nodded heavily and said, "I never joke." Stephen said, "Okay. In that case, I will sell you a favor and give you a unicorn in exchange. However, I have to say something ugly beforehand. The crystal ball in my hand can only help summon unicorns. If you want to summon a complete unicorn, you need your own efforts. Definitely, if you are lucky, you might even be able to summon a female unicorn." Chapter 120. Later, Liu Jiang met several other alchemists, all of whom were aliens. Regardless of whether they are men, women, old or young, they are all good at using poisons and hidden weapons, and they are all very powerful. Liu Jiang was deeply inspired and began to study hidden weapons. Liu Jiang was fortunate enough to study under the name of a senior and learn hidden weapons. He practiced for more than 2 years and barely mastered the operating rules of hidden weapons, but he lacked understanding of hidden attack methods. This frustrated him. Later, Liu Jiang learned some magic from Master 010. His magic ability is good, but he has no foundation. It wasn't until he met Alice's parents that his magical ability was fully revealed. At that moment, Liu Jiang was extremely pleased. His magic became more and more sophisticated. Alice also admires her brother very much. She always praised Liu Jiang, and Liu Jiang loved her very much. The two brothers and sisters depend on each other, encourage each other, and comfort each other. Until later, Alice suddenly disappeared. Liu Jiang collapsed, and he tried his best to find Alice. She collapsed by the river, castrated and dying. Liu Jiang rescued her, fed her water, used ice cubes to freeze the wound to stop the bleeding, and carried her toward the town. The priest in the town diagnosed Alice as having been poisoned. She was bitten by a snake. She was poisoned. Her teeth contain highly toxic substances, and if they are not removed in time, she will definitely die. Her parents were furious. Her mother was an ordinary woman and her father was a hunter. They were completely helpless and did not dare to touch Alice, and they did not understand what detoxification was. They can't even hire a doctor or buy herbal medicine. Finally, Liu Jiang decided to take the risk and help Alice expel the toxin. However, medicines in this world are too expensive. Liu Jiang couldn't pay a penny. They rented a house in the city and spent dozens of copper coins to get enough money to buy medicine. And Alice's toxins are still growing stubbornly, showing no signs of slowing down. Liu Zhang was frustrated and desperate. They don't have money to treat Alice. Moreover, Alice's lips were black and purple and swollen, as if she had been deeply poisoned. I'm afraid, she won't be able to survive the night. Alice's parents cried. They knelt down in front of Alice's bed and begged in pain. Please save the child, she is still so young. Alice's father burst into tears. Please. His wife cried heartbrokenly. Liu Zhang was so sad that he couldn't help but shed tears. Alice's face is pale and bloodless. Stop crying. Liu Zhang growled, why are you crying? Alice is still alive. Her mother was stunned, stopped sobbing and looked at him blankly. Isn't she dead? She murmured, her eyes full of hope. She's still alive. Liu Zhang said firmly, I will cure her. Don't cry anymore, otherwise it will disturb her rest. Her mother quickly stopped choking. Well. Alice's father also wiped away tears and sat on the chair again. Liu Zhang tore his sleeves and bandaged Alice's lips. Alice's lips gradually turned reddish-brown, as if they were smeared with blood. Wait for me, I will cure her. Liu Zhang promised in a low voice. Alice's mother was moved to tears, thank you. Liu Jiang's brows looked tired and haggard. He left the house and went next door to find Gilia. Gilia had just finished his meditation practice and was lying on the bench basking in the sun. There was a green halo floating around him. Liu Zhang bowed to him, Dear Archdruid, I want to ask you for a favor. My sister has been poisoned and I need your hidden weapons and poison. Chapter 121. Gilia opened her green eyes and looked at Liu Zhang, slightly raising the corners of her lips. Yes. If I promise to help you, I will definitely do it. What do you need me to do? Gilia asked. Liu Zhang pondered for a long time and said, My sister's teeth are very poisonous. She is unconscious now, and I am worried that her poison will spread. Therefore, I would like to ask your help to seal the poison in her body. Gilia smiled and nodded. He stood up and patted Wang Kong on his clothes. He stepped into the house. After a while, Gilia took out a silver knife and handed it to Liu Zhang. Liu Zhang took a dagger, cut his wrist, squeezed out blood and dripped it on Alice's dry lips. His 13 blood is fishy and sweet. The blood penetrated into Alice's mouth, slowly spread, merged into the flesh and blood, flowed throughout the body, infiltrated every cell, and suppressed the toxicity in Alice's body. Oh God! Please bless Alice! Alice's mother prayed with her hands clasped together. Liu Zhang also chanted the mantra. When he finished reciting, his wrist had returned to its original state, as if it had never been scratched. Liu Zhang wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He looked up at Gilia. Gilia looked at him with a smile. Your Excellency! Liu Zhang said, Can you lend me 100 copper coins? I'm going to the town to sell some things and purchase detoxifying herbs. I'm afraid I won't be able to make it in time. Gilia nodded. Then, he took out 200 copper coins from his arms. He handed it to Liu Zhang and told him, Remember to go early and come back early. I will wait for you at home. Liu Zhang took the money and bought it gratefully. He left the house. He left the town on horseback and ran toward a nearby village. He was delayed in the town for a long time. Near midnight, he finally arrived near the village. This valley is huge and surrounded by mountains. There are many small beasts in the valley. They have a keen sense of smell, and when they smell a stranger approaching, they immediately rush towards him. Liu Zhang dodged lightly and climbed over 2 short hills to the outskirts of the village. The villagers all went to sleep. He entered the village at night, found a grocery store in the village, and asked where he could buy medicinal herbs. What disease do you want to treat? The clerk is a man in his 30s with a very rough voice. Liu Zhang pointed to a house in the distance. A girl, she has a strange disease, and I need a lot of herbs to make a decoction. What strange disease? The man asked. Poisoned. Oh, I see, are you a necromancer? Liu Zhang shook his head and took out a few more gold cards. Is this money enough? Liu Zhang asked. When the man saw Jinka, his eyes lit up and he immediately changed his expression to an enthusiastic one. Wait a moment, I'll check it for you. He clicked on the keyboard. After a while, he told Liu Zhang that he could provide him with herbal medicine, but the price would be more expensive. Liu Zhang said yes. As long as there are herbs, the price is whatever you want, 673. Liu Zhang said. Okay, the clerk said with a smile. Then he took some rare herbs. Here. The clerk put the herbs on the table. Liu Jiang paid and took the herbs. Herbal medicine is not very precious, only 50 copper coins. Liu Jiang paid the money, took the herbs and left in a hurry. He returned to the village and bought many medicinal herbs. 7 or 8 of them are very hard to find herbs that are difficult to buy even if you have money. Liu Jiang paid a one-time payment of 3,500 copper coins. This money is enough to cure Alice. Liu Jiang bought a lot of herbal medicine. He ground and mashed the herbs, mixed them with his own blood, and applied it to the wound on Alice's lip. Alice's lips quickly turned black. Chapter 122. Liu Jiang took out the amethyst from his arms. This crystal is purple in color, hard and delicate in texture like jade and emits a faint glowing purple light. It is an ancestral treasure of the Liu family. It is said to be a treasure passed down by an ancestor. The ancestors of the Liu family have guarded this crystal for generations. I'll help you test the efficacy of the medicine. Liu Jiang said softly and stuffed the wen crystal into Alice's mouth. The crystal slid into the throat, flowed down the esophagus into the stomach, and turned into liquid. Alice's face gradually regained its color, the paleness faded away, and a faint blush appeared. She was breathing rapidly and fell into a coma. In her abdomen, a ball of flames could be seen moving. Liu Jiang observed her situation carefully. About an hour later, Alice woke up. She slowly opened her eyes blank, as if she had just woken up. She was dazed and not quite awake. Liu Jiang helped her up. Alice approached him and took a while to recognize him. A smile bloomed at the corner of her mouth. Liu Jiang. This was the second time Liu Jiang saw her smile. She has really grown up, but she still looks childish when she smiles. Her hair has grown black and soft. Her skin is creamy and translucent. Her eyelashes are thick and her eyes are big and smart, full of surprise. Liu Jiang looked at her ignorant look, and suddenly his heart twitched in pain. He couldn't help but stretched out his hand and gently touched her cheek, his eyes full of complex emotions. Alice seemed to feel his emotions, she blinked and then slowly rested her head on his shoulder. Liu Jiang, how could I? Alice's voice was filled with confusion and uneasiness. He helped Alice stand up slowly. Looking at her still shaky figure, he couldn't help but feel worried. He knew that Alice needed time to adapt, and he needed to patiently accompany her and help her. She is still so young, why has she suffered such sins repeatedly? Her parents died early, and she was sent to the Liu family to live under someone else's roof. Liu Jiang's parents were very kind to her and treated her as if she were a child, but they failed to teach her how to behave. Her childhood was almost miserable. Alice, can I take you to the doctor, okay? Liu Jiang asked her softly. Alice shook her head. She was at a loss. She didn't know what was happening. Alice, have you forgotten me? Liu Jiang stroked her head, his voice was very gentle. Alice, I am Liu Jiang, brother Liu Ji. Your brother Liu. You lied. Alice murmured, brother Liu Jiang has died long ago. Nonsense. Liu Jiang yelled, how could Liu Jiang die? Alice raised her eyes and looked at him. Her eyes are beautiful, dark and deep. Alice, don't be stupid again. Are you possessed by an evil spirit? Tell me the reason and I will help you drive away the evil spirit. Liu Jiang said. Alice was silent. Liu Jiang hugged her. Alice struggled. She desperately wanted to escape from his arms, but Liu Jiang held her waist. Alice, brother Liu Jiang is fine. Please be good and let me check if there is anything abnormal about you. Alice shouted, I, Zhao Ziahao, don't want to check. Liu Jiang, please let me go, or I will kill you. Liu Jiang was stunned. He sealed her words with his own kiss. Alice's eyes widened. Liu Jiang. Alice roared, what are you doing? Let me go. Let me go. Liu Jiang ignored her. Alice pushed him hard. Liu Jiang's arms closed and held her tightly. Alice was ashamed and annoyed. Let me go. Alice cried, let me go. Chapter 123. Her hand scratched Liu Jiang. Liu Jiang allowed her to do whatever she wanted. Alice bit Liu Jiang's lip. But Liu Jiang never let go of her. Alice. Liu Jiang's breathing sank, and he suppressed it, you have to remember that everything about you belongs to me. Unless I die, you will never be able to escape my control in this life, and I won't let you run away again. Alice kept struggling. After a moment, she sobbed and burst into tears. Liu Jiang let go of her, and the corners of her mouth overflowed with bright red, staining the snow-white pillow. Liu Jiang leaned over and kissed the corner of her mouth. Alice, be obedient, okay? I am Liu Jiang, you can only follow me from now on. He said in a low voice, you are not allowed to leave again, and you are not allowed to go anywhere. He lowered his eyelids. His eyes were red, and he seemed about to shed tears of blood. He didn't want to show his vulnerable side in front of Alice. I hate you. Alice choked, I hate you, I don't like you anymore. Liu Jiang. Liu Jiang's heart was so suffocated that he couldn't breathe. His tears finally couldn't bear it anymore and burst out from his eyes. Liu Jiang. Alice shouted, don't cry. Liu Jiang, you are a man. How can you shed tears? Liu Jiang covered his face. He didn't want to be embarrassed and forced himself not to let tears come out. He tried to calm down. He tucked Alice in and stood up. He sat with his back straight and his expression calm, as if nothing had happened. As he walked out of the room, he saw Alva. Alva stood in the doorway, watching them. His eyes flickered, a little panicked. Liu Jiang ignored him and went straight to take a shower. When he came out, Alice fell asleep. She curled up into a small ball, still uneasy in her sleep. Liu Jiang sat next to her and stayed with her until 4 or 5 in the morning. The sky was slightly bright, and Alice woke up from her nightmare. When she saw a strange man in her room, she was startled for a moment, and then she realized what was happening. Everything that happened last night came to my mind instantly. Alice's face became pale, without a trace of blood. Her eyes were filled with fear and her body was trembling slightly. She suddenly got up and threw herself into Liu Jiang's arms. Liu Jiang was shocked. BDDC. This was the second time she fell into his arms. Liu Jiang patted her back and comforted her softly, Alice, it's okay, it's okay. He didn't understand why Alice was so afraid of ghosts. He and Alice have a good relationship. He even felt that she was the only girl who did not reject him and was willing to make friends with him. However, Alice is afraid of ghosts. Liu Jiang had a strange feeling in his heart that he couldn't explain clearly. Liu Jiang, please save me. I'm so scared. She murmured. Liu Jiang felt distressed. He held her tightly. Alice cried. Tired from crying, she lay in Liu Jiang's arms to rest. Her body was still trembling. Liu Jiang, don't leave. Alice whispered, I'm afraid. Liu Jiang hugged her arm tightly. Her body became even colder. What is she afraid of? Liu Jiang felt sour in his heart. He sighed softly and hugged her. 2 days later, Alice's parents arrived in New York. They took Alice away. In the past 2 days, Liu Jiang gave Alice a lot of money, enough to buy a plane ticket home, but Alice firmly refused. Alice told him that she had found a job and quit her part-time job at the bar. She is now a regular employee. Chapter 124. Her salary is high, £6,000 a month, which can make Alice live very comfortably. Alice also said that she did not need him to support her. Liu Jiang knew that the money he gave her was too little, and it was far from being able to make up for the damage done back then. Therefore, he hopes that Alice can be happy. But he couldn't do it. Does he love her? The answer is yes. He couldn't bear to leave her and wanted to keep her by his side. He wants to take care of her for the rest of his life. They both explained it clearly like a ridiculous and nonsensical dream. Alice resisted at first. She doesn't believe Liu Jiang. However, when she was in danger, it was Liu Jiang who came in time to rescue her from the clutches of those gangsters. Her dependence and trust on him slowly grew until she could no longer contain it. Alice loves Liu Jiang very much. But she didn't dare to tell Liu Jiang. Liu Jiang does not allow her to fall in love or marry into her family. She is afraid of Liu Jiang. She even wanted to escape. Liu Jiang, I really can't accept other men, especially men who are worse than you. Please let me go. Alice begged Liu Jiang. Liu Jiang's chest rose and fell violently. His eyes were filled with turmoil. You want to marry me? Liu Jiang asked her. Alice remained silent. Okay. Liu Jiang said, if you marry me, you must keep your promise and stay with me forever. Alice didn't speak. just nodded. She has no choice. In this case, why should she struggle? Besides, she doesn't understand what a promise is. She doesn't even know what love is. Lu Jiang, if you marry me, I won't be afraid, right? Alice suddenly raised her head and asked Lu Jiang, her eyes bright and full of desire, will you marry mine, right? She was so determined. Lu Jiang took a deep breath and tried to control his anger. Be good, he said. Alice pursed her lips and smiled. Then, she lowered her head again. She leaned in Lu Jiang's arms, holding her arms tightly around Lu Jiang's waist. She closed her eyes and slept peacefully. Lu Jiang did not push her away. After Alice woke up, she didn't sleep. She kept her eyes wide open and stared at the ceiling. Until it gets bright, the curtains are opened, and the sun shines all over the floor. Lu Jiang's bedroom has a warm yellow glow. He was dressed neatly and took out a new set of shirts and trousers from the closet. He turned to Alice and said softly, get up and have breakfast, and I'll take you back. Alice didn't move. Alice! Lu Jiang called, hurry up. Lu Jiang, thank you for taking me in for a few days. I owe you a debt, and I will definitely repay it. Don't hate me. Alice said in a low voice. Her expression was unusually serious, and she was no longer as confused and hesitant as before. Can you do me a favor? Alice asked again. Lu Jiang asked her what she was doing. Alice refused to say anything. She smiled and said, I will cook it for you with my own hands, okay? Lu Jiang hesitated for a moment, then nodded, okay. Alice breathed a sigh of relief. She jumped off the bed, stepped on the wooden floor with her bare feet, and walked towards the bathroom step by step. Lu Jiang called his assistant and asked for 3 days off. His assistant readily agreed. Have a good rest, the assistant said. Lu Jiang hung up the phone and returned to the living room. Alice put on a loose furry shirt and denim hot pants, revealing her straight and slender legs. Her skin is as white as snow, as warm and delicate as jade. She wore her hair in a ponytail today, looking neat and tidy. Chapter 125. She smiled brightly at Lu Jiang. Lu Jiang, go and wash up quickly. I'll cook noodles for you. I'll make sure they're delicious. Lu Jiang laughed. She smiles sweetly. Alice cooked a bowl of noodles in the kitchen and served it to Lu Jiang. Lu Jiang tasted it and found it was very fragrant. Alice said this was her secret recipe and it was very delicious, but she would always try her best to make it for Lu Jiang. She likes to watch Lu Jiang eat. Lu Jiang finished eating and sat on the sofa to wait. His eyes fell on the TV screen. The financial channel is playing on the 377 TV and is broadcasting international political news. Lu Jiang saw a familiar face. That's his father. My father is 50 years old this year and is very energetic. His eyes are sharp, with the sharpness unique to a businessman, and he seems to understand everything. Next to him stood a female secretary. Lu Jiang has a super memory. This female secretary was once his mother's most caring sister. After Lu's mother died of illness, Alice's life was managed by this female secretary. That's why Alice has achieved what she has today. Lu Jiang's father was extremely strict with the 4 siblings. Except for her father, Alice has never seen any elder as harsh as her father. Alice stole a glance at Lu Jiang. Lu Jiang concentrated on watching TV and seemed not to hear it at all. He showed no resentment or grievance. Lu Jiang is very calm. His calmness and restraint concealed something. Alice looked away. Is it delicious? Alice asked, her voice trembling slightly. Lu Jiang hummed. Alice breathed a sigh of relief. Lu Jiang asked her again, why did my dad come to New York? He came to attend the stock trading conference. Alice said, our company has invested in several funds in New York. You know, your family's industries are all over the world, and New York is no exception. My dad's stock trading conference, the world's top speculators were invited. Alice didn't lie. The number of times she lied to Lu Jiang became less and less. Oh. Lu Jiang responded calmly, and then changed the subject. Alice, did you have a nightmare last night? No. Alice objected, I dreamed about my mother. My mother told me that she was leaving. I don't understand, how could my mother leave? Your mother is dead. Lu Jiang said, she was hit by a car and died. Alice's eyes suddenly widened. Her pupils narrowed and she became frightened. Her mouth opened in an O shape, and she couldn't close it for a long time, looking like she was out of her mind. I didn't lie to you. Liu Jiang repeated, Alice, your mother is indeed dead. I am a policeman, and I will not make up rumors to deceive an innocent child. He saw the fear, panic, and confusion in Alice's eyes. He was satisfied. This means that Alice believes it. Then, Alice asked him, where is mother's relic? I found it. Liu Jiang said. He took out Alice's mother's relics and handed them to Alice. That's a ring. Alice stretched out her hand, held it in her hand, and rubbed the lines on it. My mother never wears this. Alice murmured softly, Mom loves beautiful jewelry. So, you should cherish it. Liu Jiang said. I will. Alice raised her eyes and looked at Jiang with tears in her eyes. Liu Jiang felt a pain in his heart. He remembered that he accompanied his mother like this when she was dying. He missed her. Alice hugged her mother's belongings, ran to the bathroom, locked the door and cried bitterly. Liu Jiang stood at the top of the stairs and did not leave for a long time. He is smoking. Alice hadn't cried so loudly for a long time. This kind of crying reminded Liu Jiang of his mother. When his mother died of illness, he was so heartbroken that he almost went crazy. Alice 5.4 cried very sadly, crying intermittently, until she was tired from crying. She stopped crying and came out of the bathroom. Liu Jiang was still standing where he was. Alice came over and handed the ring to Liu Jiang. Liu Jiang, are you willing to keep this ring for me? Alice said. There was a brief blank in Liu Jiang's thoughts. He stared at her blankly for a few seconds before reacting. He nodded, okay, I'll save it for you. Thanks. Chapter 126. Liu Jiang and Alice live in the same building. They open their doors on time at 8 o'clock every Saturday morning and cook for Liu Jiang. The relationship between the two is like a man and woman passionately in love. Only Liu Jiang knew that there was no emotion between them. Alice likes to stick to Liu Jiang, and Liu Jiang also likes to be stuck to her. He was used to being relied on by Alice like this. In this way, Liu Jiang felt that Alice truly belonged to him. Alice likes to wear light pink dresses. Her skin is as smooth as snow, and crystal water drops sparkle in the sun. Her eyes are also large, with thick and curly eyelashes, and her whole person is filled with youthful vitality. And Liu Jiang likes her liveliness. He hoped that Alice would always be like this, full of vigor and enthusiasm. Liu Jiang, when will we get married? Alice would ask him this every time before going to bed, with a soft tone. Every time Liu Jiang heard this, he felt angry in his heart. But he controlled himself and did not have an attack. His eyes are deep and dark, like a whirlpool, capable of swallowing up everything. In another 2 years. Liu Jiang said coldly, with a distant and cold tone, Alice, you are not suitable for marriage. Alice was stunned. She didn't know why Liu Jiang treated her so coldly. We are not suitable. Liu Jiang continued, his tone colder than before, I am not interested in you. You should find another man, Alice. I hope you are happy. But, I am interested in you. Alice said hurriedly, Liu Jiang, I love you very much, well. Liu Jiang suddenly kissed her lips. Alice struggled a few times and gradually lost her resistance. When Liu Jiang let her go, her cheeks turned red. Liu Jiang, you. She bit her lip, why are you always like this? Because I don't want to waste each other's time anymore. Liu Jiang interrupted her in a low voice, Alice, we will not be happy. Alice's face suddenly changed and turned as pale as paper. I know. Alice choked and said, stop talking, I won't bother you anymore. Liu Jiang, you are too cruel. She turned around and ran towards the room, her back hurriedly. Her tears slipped down. Liu Jiang's fingers dug into his palm, and the pain brought him back to his senses. He didn't give chase. He knew Alice's weaknesses and her fear of pain. If scaring her like this can achieve the effect, Liu Jiang would rather torture her. Alice ignored Liu Jiang for 3 days in a row. Liu Jiang is very busy. He took his work home to deal with. The house he rented had only 1 bedroom and a living room. He usually works at home. He gets up at 5 o'clock every morning. He was busy in the kitchen, frying eggs. Alice was sitting on the sofa playing with her mobile phone, and accidentally raised her eyes to see the workman. He was wearing a black t-shirt, with 600 cuffs rolled up to the crook of his elbow, revealing his strong and muscular arms. He is cooking. Alice's eyes narrowed slightly, and her eyes fell on his body. Liu Jiang is tall, with dark skin and well-proportioned and tight muscles. Alice's throat felt hot. She didn't dare stare for too long. He finished cooking, served it to the table, and invited Alice to eat. "Aren't you going to the police department today?" Alice asked him. "Last night you promised me to have a rest today and go shopping with me." The circles under her eyes were red, and it was obvious that she had passed away again. "Yet," Liu Jiang said. He ate at home, cleared away the dishes, and went out. Chapter 127. Alice has been sitting on the sofa playing with her mobile phone. Her phone screen went black. She doesn't want anyone to touch her phone, not even her mother. Her mother dotes on her and will agree to whatever she asks. Alice rarely takes the initiative to contact her mother. "Unless something happens to my mother." She sat for a long time, got up, took a shower, changed clothes, put on makeup, and went to the mall to buy some beautiful clothes. She went to the second floor of the store. She pushed open the glass display window and looked at the dazzling array of brand-name women's clothing. She was a little moved and selected a few skirts in bright colors. She took the bag and went to the counter to pay. She didn't pay, it was the lady who helped her pay. "Miss, your boyfriend is very handsome and considerate." The cabinet girl smiled and praised her. "He's not my boyfriend," Alice corrected. The counter girl had an expression of I understand," and winked at her ambiguously. Alice had no expression on her face, paid the money, and left in a hurry. She went to the police department. Liu Jiang has returned to his room and is sitting in front of the computer looking up the case. "Where have you been today?" Alice asked softly as she approached him and sat next to him. Her breasts rubbed against Liu Jiang's shoulders, and a numbing feeling hit his back, making him stiff all over. Alice leaned closer and closer. Liu Jiang frowned, stood up suddenly, and avoided her. He pulled out his chair and was far away from her. Alice was stunned. She looked at Liu Jiang blankly. He looked at her coldly and distantly for a few seconds and said, "You go first, I want to see the case file." "Didn't you say you have a day off today?" Alice felt extremely aggrieved. Liu Jiang said, "I'm working overtime now. I need to stay up late." "Then you shouldn't hide from me," Alice said. Liu Jiang was silent. He didn't explain, or even deny, it was considered acquiescence. Alice's nose was sore again. She lowered her eyes to hide it, didn't speak for a long time, and finally ran away. Liu Jiang returned to his seat. He has always disliked being alone with Alice. She is clingy and he is impatient. She has a bad temper, and he is equally impatient. But now, he must keep his distance from her. Alice's character is very extreme. She is possessive of him. If you are pestered too much by her, you will inevitably cause trouble. I don't want to add any more details. He glanced at the sunset outside, his mind wandering. He has lived in this city for 10 years. His childhood was missing. He has never enjoyed any warmth from his parents. "Alice, you never want to come in," he muttered. Alice has been depressed. At 8 o'clock on Thursday night, Alice made an appointment with her best friend Adele. Adele is her best friend and Alice's best friend. Alice doesn't have many friends. Alice's father died unexpectedly when she was 5 years old. Mom is also crazy. Alice's family suffered tremendous changes and was torn apart. Alice's father works as a nurse in the hospital and is an excellent doctor. Alice's mother married and became a middle-class lady, living a comfortable and prosperous life. The only good thing is that they are all Alice's friends. They never cheated on Alice. "Alice, what's wrong with you?" Adele asked her worriedly. She and Alice were junior high school classmates. Her parents are both ordinary employees. She knows the situation of Alice's family better than anyone, good or bad. After something happened to Alice's family, she never told Adele. She only said that the family was very difficult. Adele was very kind to her and always took care of her. "It's nothing." Alice forced a smile, "I haven't had a good appetite recently." "Then you should pay attention to your diet and drink more water." Adele warned her, "I heard people say that vomiting after eating is caused by gastrointestinal discomfort." Alice nodded. The two continued to chat about other topics. There was a hint of concern in Adele's words. She still treats Alice as she did before. Chapter 128. Alice's heart slowly calmed down. Her face regained its energy. They chatted until 9 o'clock in the night. Adele sends Alice home. They live not far away. Alice walked to the door of the apartment, ignored the mottled marks cast by the street lights on the leaves, and walked straight to her home. She walked briskly, her steps were jumping, and she seemed to have forgotten the frustration just now. She opened her room and put down her shopping bag. She took off her shoes, climbed into bed, and lay on her soft pillow. She hugged her knees and curled up into a small ball. She looked at the orange light leaking through the gap in the curtains, and suddenly felt a little hurt. Jiang, what if I'm pregnant? Can I bring the baby to you? Alice murmured to herself, I really love you, why don't you love me? She hugged herself. Her tears wet the pillow cloth. At 6 o'clock in the morning the next day, Alice was woken up by the alarm clock. She stumbled downstairs to have breakfast, but saw 2 lins of milk on the coffee table in the living room. It's her breakfast. There were pots and pans clattering in the kitchen, and the smell of fireworks was wafting out. Alice's eyes suddenly opened wide. When the people in the kitchen heard the noise, they immediately stopped. He turned around and looked at Alice. He was slender, handsome, and gentle, with a smile on his lips. Good morning, Lilia, are you up? Leah, BDCJ, Leah. Alice's whole face was distorted and her eyes were widened. Who do you call Lilia? This is not Jiang. He wouldn't be so vulgar. Good morning, Alice, what's wrong with you? Jiang said. Alice screamed, Jiang. Her voice was hoarse, and her eyes were filled with angry flames. She wished she could pounce on this man and tear him to pieces. But he was standing in the kitchen neatly dressed. He was not wearing pajamas. Last night's scene came to mind. Alice's sanity returned instantly. She remembered that Jiang would not let anyone touch his personal belongings. He even had to have someone put away his toiletries. He hates strange women approaching him even more. He would never allow his things to fall into the hands of others. Alice gritted her teeth, so it's you. Are you spying on me? She got it. Jiang is a pervert. He coveted her beauty. Not only is she beautiful, she also has a great figure, her skin is fair and soft, comparable to fat, her legs are slender and straight, giving her a perfect model figure. An honest otaku like Jiang must have coveted her beauty, so he spied on her. I wasn't peeping. Jiang smiled, his smile still elegant and clean, not impatient or impatient, I just happened to pass by and warmed up the milk for you. Alice didn't believe it. Her eyes were fixed on Jiang. Jiang looked at her calmly. Alice wasn't sure if it was true or not, after all, she didn't see Jiang's eyes. However, her heart was beating fast. Jiang didn't lie, he was not a timid man. Alice couldn't help but touch her slightly swollen belly. Thank you, I will consider moving out. Alice said to Jiang in a cold voice. Jiang smiled and remained non-committal. He brought breakfast. Alice looked at the sumptuous breakfast in front of her with extremely complicated emotions. She sat down to eat. Jiang is sitting next to her. He always looked at Alice with a smile. His eyes were dark and deep, like a deep pool, making people unpredictable. When he looks at people, there is always an invisible pressure. His smile was more like a sharp sword. Alice's stomach turned. Chapter 129. She couldn't help coughing, and her face turned red. She felt embarrassed and ashamed, and lowered her head as if to cover up. Jiang's expression gradually became gloomier. He stretched out his hand, covered Alice's back, and patted her gently. His palms were rough and hot. The pads of his fingers were thick and tough, with a thin layer of calluses, and when they were touched on the skin, it was like an electric current flowing through them. Alice was stiff. After a while, her breathing returned to normal. She raised her eyes and looked at Jiang. Jiang looked at her with a smile, with a gentle expression, like a gentleman, who treats the girl he likes with tolerance. Guilt and regret flashed in his eyes. This guilt is very short-lived. He quickly hid it. By the time Alice calmed down, Jiang had returned to normal, his calm and relaxed attitude again. Sorry, Lilia. No, it's okay. Alice lowered her head and continued to eat breakfast. Her appetite is not very good, and she always eats hastily. Jiang stayed by his side quietly. His eyebrows occasionally raised slightly, as if he was enjoying having lunch with her. After dinner, he asked her again, "Can I ask you another question today?" "Go ahead." Alice's tone was indifferent and distant. She didn't dare to be alone with Jiang anymore, fearing that he would peek into her heart and explore her weaknesses. He won't cause trouble, but he will get into trouble. She needed to avoid this situation. "Do you like men or women?" Jiang said. Alice was startled, and then realized that he was trying to trick her. This man is really shrewd. He did it on purpose. Deliberately pretending not to be familiar with it, deliberately pretending not to understand anything, deliberately showing off the flaws, and then letting her relax her vigilance, and finally catching the flaw. This is a ruse. Alice's hand tightened. Her face remained calm, not letting herself reveal her feelings. "Don't think so wildly," Alice said sharply. Her cheeks were crimson, and the flush from anger made her even more beautiful. "Isn't it?" Jiang asked with a smile, "if it's not a man and a woman." Alice couldn't believe her ears. She has never seen a man who confuses right and wrong like this. His face was delicate and gentle, but his eyes were sharp and cold. "Shut up!" Alice scolded, "If you insult me again, I will report it to the police." "Oh, why are you so excited?" "I was just joking." Jiang smiled and said in a steady tone, "I don't know which sentence hurt your heart." Alice was blocked by him. She almost went crazy, but she couldn't control him. She suddenly stood up and walked out of the restaurant. Her steps were messy and she looked confused. Jiang was still elegant and drank half a cup of coffee slowly. He didn't chase him out. Alice ran downstairs and stopped a taxi. "Master, go to school," she said to the driver. "You want to go to school?" The driver was stunned for a moment. "It's only after 9 o'clock, what are you going to school for?" "0, I have something important," Alice said perfunctorily. "Master, hurry up and open the warehouse." The taxi drove away. Jiang sat by the window of the restaurant and watched the cars passing away quietly. There was a small smile on his face. He was very satisfied with himself, even a little proud. After the third or fourth class in the afternoon, Alice went to see Roberts and asked him to check out. Roberts happily obliged her. Several roommates who were traveling with him were envious and jealous. "Alice, congratulations! You are pregnant." "Why didn't your parents inform us?" said the roommate. "Yes, Alice, you want a treat." Another roommate agreed. Everyone was buzzing around and blessing Alice. Alice smiled and thanked her. She didn't say anything about her pregnancy, she just said vaguely "good luck." Chapter 130. "Alice, congratulations." Boyan opened the door and came in. He smiled at Alice and said, "I'll treat you to dinner tonight." Boyan has been stationed at the National University of Defense Technology for a long time. He rarely returns to the dormitory on weekdays and is not familiar with everyone. He has a cold and serious personality, and people don't pay much attention to him. Instead, he is happy and relaxed, and he is a little less reserved. "Okay," Alice said, "then I want to eat at the barbecue restaurant." Boyan nodded. The other classmates also said, 79-7 count me in. Alice readily agreed. The place to eat is a barbecue restaurant. Boyan invites guests. When everyone arrived at the barbecue restaurant, Alice found that Boyan's seat was empty, so she called him, "Boyan, where are you sitting?" Boyan pointed to the chair opposite Alice and motioned for him to sit here first. Alice sat down, and the others each occupied a table. After ordering, Alice asked Boyan, "Boyan, I heard someone said that you had a date with Lilia yesterday." Her tone was a little sour. Boyan frowned slightly. "I just sent her home," he explained. "He's not good at lying. I think you two are quite close." Alice hummed, "She's your sister." "She and I have no blood relationship." Boyan said, "She and I are just friends. I hope the relationship between us is pure, nothing more. You are not related by blood, but you still slept together. Can this kind of friendship be pure?" Alice sneered. Boyan was slightly annoyed, "I can't communicate with you." "Alice, don't use your dirty thinking to speculate on me." The corners of Alice's lips curled up with sarcasm. She didn't bother to argue with him. 2 hours later, the waiter brought the food to the table. Boyan took the lead in raising his chopsticks and started eating. Seeing this, Alice also picked up a piece of steak and ate it with relish. Liu Boyan's face brightened slightly. He was also very hungry and ate eagerly. He finished half a bowl of soup and rice in one go. After eating, Liu Boyan put down his bowl and chopsticks, wiped his mouth, and said, "I'm going to the bathroom, and you guys can eat slowly." Alice hummed. He walked to the sink outside the door. When washing, he habitually turned on the faucet on the wall and washed his hands. Just as he rolled up his sleeves, another figure appeared in the mirror. The man also turned on the faucet and washed his hands. It was an officer Liu Boyan knew. His surname was Zhao. He was in the same team as Liu Boyan when he was in the army. Liu Boyan and Zhao Shilin have a close friendship. "I thought you wouldn't come today," Zhao Shilin said. "I heard that you and Lilia had a falling out." Liu Boyan's expression turned cold instantly. "There is no relationship between me and Lilia," Liu Bian said. "Don't you already know that? Are you in love with Alice?" Zhao Shilin asked. "I think you two are a good match. What Alice and I are like has nothing to do with you," Liu Boyan said coldly. "I care about you," Zhao Shilin said. "Liu Boyan, I know your ambition. You shouldn't waste time in school. We will pave the way for you in the future, so you don't have to worry about your future. But now, if you and Alice are together, it will ruin your life. Your parents worked hard to train you and don't want you to take detours. We hope that you will make a difference in the future." Liu Boyan remained silent. "Liu Boyan," Zhao Shilin continued to persuade, "listen to my advice and cut off contact with Alice." Liu Boyan lowered his eyes, covering the emotions in his eyes. Chapter 131. "She and I are friends, other than that, we have no other relationship." After a while, Liu Boyan said, "If you keep pestering her, I will have no choice but to call the police." Zhao Shilin sighed and said he understood. He turned and left without stopping. Liu Boyan stayed in the bathroom for a longer time. It wasn't until the waiter knocked on the door to urge him that he hurriedly washed his hands and went back to the room. Alice was leaning on the window and talking on the phone, her expression gentle. Liu Boyan's footsteps paused. Av. After she hung up the phone, she turned away. 13 Liu Boyan has disappeared from the glass behind her and returned to his bed. Alice's eyes fell on his bedside table. She wanted to see clearly what was on his desk, Liu Boyan's notebook and several letters. Alice withdrew her gaze and sat down. She planned to call home. Alice's parents are both in New York City. After she and Liu Boyan got engaged, Liu Boyan moved back to New York, and their parents took their daughter to live with him and helped him take care of Liu Boyan. This trip to Beijing was specially arranged by my parents. They want Alice and Liu Boyan to get married as soon as possible so that their parents can feel at ease. Alice called her father and told her parents that she and Liu Boyan were engaged, but the relationship between her and him was not that of boyfriend and girlfriend, but just ordinary friends. Her parents didn't blame her. Liu Jiang on the other side is correcting documents in the office. His secretary knocked on the door and came in. "Minister Liu, your phone is ringing over and over again. Do you need to answer it?" the secretary asked. Liu Jiang raised his eyelids and glanced at him. There was some irritation in his eyes. Liu Boyan would call him every 3 or 5 days to ask about his schedule. Liu Jiang was disgusted. He has been busy with work recently and can't spare any time to deal with Liu Boyan. "You go ahead and tell him I have something to do," Liu Jiang said. "No matter what it is, let him ask you to do it for him." The secretary took the order and left. After a while, the secretary came back. His phone was smashed. "Sorry, Minister Liu. I don't know much about this," the secretary said sincerely. "He insisted on calling in, but I really can't fight." Liu Jiang rubbed his forehead. "It's okay," Liu Jiang said, "you go out first." Then, he picked up the phone and dialed Liu Boyan's number. The phone was answered quickly, and Liu Boyan's voice said, "Every. What's the matter?" "Brother, I'm going to your club tonight to have fun, and you drink with me." "Not tonight." "What about tomorrow?" "No way." Liu Boyan seemed very anxious and his tone was much higher. "Tomorrow is the weekend," Liu Jiang said forcefully. Liu Bai was speechless and remained silent. "I'm very busy and don't have time to accompany you crazy," Liu Jiang said. "Where you want to go, you can just tell the driver or servant." "Are you trying to deal with me?" Liu Boyan said angrily. Liu Jiang, we are brothers. Since you know, don't mess around. Liu Jiang said coldly. Liu Boyan pondered for a moment, seeming to be considering Jiang's words. Brother, do you really hate me? Liu Boyan suddenly asked, his tone softer, like a wounded child. Liu Jiang was silent for a few seconds. Immediately, his voice returned to calmness and he said, yes. Liu Boyan asked again, then who do you like? My sister, your fiancé, or the girl you like? My business has nothing to do with you. Liu Jiang said, Boyan, you shouldn't disturb my private life. We are half-brothers. Then you'd better not call me brother. Liu Jiang said, this generational system is messed up. When you marry a wife in the future, don't call her by the wrong name. I can't afford to embarrass that person. Chapter 132. Liu Boyan was silent again. He probably felt embarrassed and finally hung up the phone. The phone was cut off. Liu Jiang held the phone tightly. This was the last time he tolerated Liu Boyan's willful behavior. If he persists in his obsession, Liu Jiang will never tolerate him. Liu Jiang no longer cares about Liu Boyan. In the days after Alice returned to China, she spent her time battling with Liu Boyan, trying to drive a wedge between Liu Boyan and Luo Weiwei. Unfortunately, she suffered repeated defeats. Liu Boyan remained calm towards Luo Weiwei. On the contrary, she herself became hysterical because of jealousy. Liu Jiang goes to the club to train every Saturday and Sunday. His training was very hard, he took baths all year round, and his muscles ached. His physique is excellent, and half an hour of bathing is enough to relieve fatigue. Only Luo Weiwei. Luo Weiwei's constitution is on the thin side, and she needs a whole bucket of water to take a bath. It is simply unimaginable to soak a bucket of water for 3 hours. Luo Weiwei refused to cooperate because she disliked Liu Jiang. She believed that Liu Jiang was deliberately torturing her and wanted her to suffer. Liu Jiang was too lazy to talk nonsense and immediately told her to get out. Luo Weiwei didn't dare to anger him, so she had to cooperate obediently. When Luo Weiwei came out of the bath, her whole body ached. Liu Jiang asked her to lie on the carpet and sleep for a while. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he would take her to dinner. Luo Weiwei was too tired to talk and fell asleep. She rested her head on her arms and squinted her eyes slightly. Unknowingly, she fell asleep. When she woke up, Liu Jiang had already put on sportswear and was ready to go for a run. He wore a pair of black shorts, revealing his strong waist and abdomen. Luo Weiwei opened her eyes wide. His chest was full of muscles, with a faint honey-colored sheen. His spine is straight and strong, his shoulders are wide and his waist is narrow, and his figure is amazing. Awake? He asked. He stood in front of Luo Weiwei. Luo Weiwei hurriedly closed her eyes. Her heart raced. Liu Jiang stretched her legs and kicked off her slippers. Then he bent down and carried it on his back. Luo Weiwei was startled and almost fell off his shoulders. She quickly hugged his neck and cursed in a low voice, a hole. Liu Jiang smiled and continued walking out. Luo Weiwei gritted her teeth and glared at him. Liu Jiang turned a deaf ear. He put Luo Weiwei into the passenger seat and buckled her seat belt. Then, Liu Jiang drove away from the club and went straight to the city. Where are you taking me? Luo Weiwei struggled and kept asking him. Liu Jiang ignored her. He drove straight to a commercial building. This is the most luxurious shopping mall in City A. The products inside are all international brands. They are expensive, but there is no shortage of money to spend. The consumption ability is amazing. Liu Jiang brings Luo Weiwei to buy clothes. He remembered that Luo Weiwei once said that she liked Parisian clothes. Liu Jiang took her to the top floor. He pushed open the glass curtain wall and walked into a shop. The clerk came to greet me. Master, do you have an appointment? Liu Jiang shook his head, no. The clerk took them inside. Luo Weiwei's eyes brightened as she looked here. She secretly tugged on Liu Jiang's sleeves to signal him to stop. Liu Jiang looked sideways at her. Luo Weiwei pointed to an off-white long windbreaker in the window. I want to try this dress. Luo Weiwei said, I want it in that color, it will look better against my skin tone. Don't make trouble. Liu Jiang frowned. Luo Weiwei pouted, a little aggrieved. The clerk smiled and said, please wait a moment. I'll bring it to you right away. Luo Weiwei pulled Liu Jiang to sit on the sofa and stopped, Zhao Hazeo, from making any more noise. Liu Jiang's eyes fell on her snow-white and slender neck. There is a trace of light pink there. The hickey from that night. Liu Jiang's breathing paused. He tried hard to control the mania and ecstasy in his heart, tried to be calm, and diverted his attention, no longer looking at Luo Weiwei, but staring at the windbreaker in the window. Luo Weiwei took the opportunity to touch her lips, feeling secretly happy. Although Liu Jiang didn't touch her, he kissed her when he held her just now. His lips were warm, soft, and smooth, like jelly. Weiwei was greedy for his taste. Chapter 133. She even missed that feeling and wished he could kiss her again. Unexpectedly, Luo Weiwei's actions were witnessed by onlookers. Liu Jiang caught a glimpse of Luo Weiwei licking her red lips. He suddenly looked away and took a deep breath. His eyes returned to the windbreaker in the window. After a while, the clerk delivered Luo Weiwei's clothes. "Thank you, please wrap it up for me." Luo Weiwei took it. She picked up the bag and prepared to leave with Liu Jiang. The clerk stopped them both. "Hello, please wait a moment. You forgot something and we need to check it," the clerk said politely. Luo Weiwei was stunned. "I didn't miss anything." But the clerk insisted, "Please stay. We will make sure it is correct before we can hand over the clothes to you. Otherwise, it will damage the customer's reputation. This is also within the rules." Luo Weiwei 567 has no idea. She had to stand there and wait with Liu Jiang. The clerk opened another door in the window and took out the photo. "We need to check this gentleman's photo, do you mind?" the clerk asked politely. "I don't mind," Liu Jiang said. The clerk handed over the photo. On the right side of the photo is a string of English words, and on the left side is the Chinese spelling Mr. Luan. "Mr. Luan? What's this gentleman's name?" the clerk asked. Liu Jiang said indifferently, "You don't need to know his name." The clerk was startled. He didn't expect that Liu Jiang would be so tough and refused to provide a name. Luo Weiwei was also surprised. "What should I do, Liu Jiang?" she asked quietly. "Wait," Liu Jiang said. "You're not really going to sell his photos, are you?" Luo Weiwei asked in surprise. Liu Jiang glanced at her. Luo Weiwei sneered and immediately changed her tune and said, "I was joking, I believe in your professionalism." The clerk asked several more times. Liu Jiang's patience ran out and he shouted, "Hurry up." The clerk was so frightened that he quickly went to check. The information found shows that this person's name is Kings.L, and the Chinese translation is Daisy. Liu Jiang frowned. He didn't know this person's true identity, but he just felt that the name was too clever. He flipped through the information casually. This is a small medical research institute under the Liu family. It produces a variety of medicines every year and is a very famous company. BDCC, Kings.L is one of the most powerful directors in the companies affiliated with the Liu group. Liu Jiang looked at it for a long time, still puzzled. He raised his eyes and glanced at Luo Weiwei. Luo Weiwei sat upright, looking like a good baby, with clear eyes. Her eyes were also glued to Liu Jiang's face. Liu Jiang snorted and opened his eyes. The clerk finished checking and handed the information back to Liu Jiang. "Master Liu, these are your clothes," the clerk said. Luo Weiwei was so excited that she couldn't wait to grab it. Liu Jiang paid the bill, took the clothes and went out. Luo Weiwei picked up the bag and chased him out. The two separated at the escalator of the mall. Luo Weiwei picked up her windbreaker and ran upstairs quickly. She couldn't wait to take off her clothes and try on clothes in front of the mirror. She was wearing a skirt today and didn't need too many clothes to cover her up. She was wearing an off-white knitted sweater with a pair of blue wide-leg trousers underneath. She was very beautiful, making her already fair and delicate skin as smooth as jade. Luo Weiwei's facial features are delicate and graceful of a typical southern girl. Her eyes are bright, the tip of her nose is high, and her mouth is small. Her figure is well proportioned and slender. These are things she never dared to ask for before. She always thought of herself as a vulgar village girl. And now, she has it all. Chapter 134. Her husband is 20 years older than her, but still handsome and charming, her parents are healthy and live long lives, her fiancé is the president of the Liu group. The more Luo Weiwei looked at herself in the mirror, the more elated she felt. She changed her clothes and hurried out to find Liu Jiang. Who knows, when she passed by the Dior counter, she saw a love suit of the same color displayed in the window. Luo Weiwei's heart was pounding. She hurriedly paid for a couple's suit. After returning home, she couldn't wait to try them on for Liu Jiang and asked him which one looked better. A thin smile floated on Liu Jiang's face. "It suits you quite well," Liu Jiang said. What he said was not perfunctory. His vision is unique. "You should put it on too," Luo Weiwei said. "Let's go shopping together." Liu Jiang hesitated for a moment, but finally agreed. This is his wife, and he should go shopping with her. The two went shopping together, and walking side by side under the street lights, Liu Jiang saw Su Jinjiao and Tang Luokeng. There seems to be no safety crown in this world. They are both very far apart. Liu Jiang's hand was clenched into a fist, and the knuckles were faintly white. Luo Weiwei didn't notice. She walked around happily. When she was tired from shopping, she took Liu Jiang to eat. Liu Jiang didn't like shopping, but he couldn't resist Luo Weiwei and let her drag him forward. "Would you like to eat steak? I know there is a new restaurant nearby. The food is very authentic and the price is very cheap," Luo Weiwei asked. "You make the decision," Liu Jiang said. Luo Weiwei was satisfied. When she was paying the bill, she found that her consumption amount was not enough, so she quickly called the manager to add more. "Sorry, Miss Liu." The manager smiled apologetically. "You are a customer, you should pay the bill." Luo Weiwei's eyes widened. "What do you mean I am a customer? Isn't he a customer?" "Master Liu, do you also want to pay the bill?" The manager glanced at Liu Jiang in embarrassment. Liu Jiang was silent. No, no, Luo Weiwei said quickly, "I'm treating you." Liu Jiang, the boyfriend, has a weird temper, but he loves and protects Luo Weiwei. Luo Weiwei said she wanted to treat her, so he didn't refute. The two of them continued walking forward. When I walked past a jewelry counter, I suddenly heard a familiar name. Luo Weiwei stopped immediately. Liu Jiang also stopped. The two looked at each other. This brand was founded by Calvin, the top domestic jewelry designer. It has excellent sales and is the darling of the fashion industry. Calvin is a European, quite handsome and unrestrained, and has prospered in the fashion industry. Moreover, he is withdrawn, cold and arrogant, and difficult to get along with, not only because he is a designer, but also because he is unsmiling and even has severe misophobia. This kind of personality makes it impossible for him to integrate into the fashion circle. However, he can design top-notch works. Luo Weiwei's father, Mr. Rogers, admired his talent very much and wanted to invite him to join the Luo family's company as a senior manager to help the family open up the Asia-Pacific region. Unfortunately, Calvin didn't agree. He refused. He disdains those gold and silver treasures. Luo Weiwei has seen Calvin's design. His style is very distinctive, as arrogant as flames. He once had 3 disciples. Their works have different styles, but they all have one thing in common: they are passionate and unrestrained. He is a very crazy person, does not follow the rules, he is a complete gambler. He has a saying that has been handed down: "You never know what I want to do in the next second." Chapter 135. She and I are friends, other than that, we have no other relationship. After a while, Liu Boyan said, "If you keep pestering her, I will have no choice but to call the police." Zhao Shilin sighed and said he understood. He turned and left without stopping. Liu Boyan stayed in the bathroom for a longer time. It wasn't until the waiter knocked on the door to urge him that he hurriedly washed his hands and went back to the room to take a doctor. Alice was leaning on the window and talking on the phone, her expression gentle. Liu Boyan's footsteps paused. 623 yet? She agreed. After she hung up the phone, she turned away. Liu Boyan had disappeared from the glass behind her and returned to his bed. Alice's eyes fell on his bedside table. She wanted to see clearly what was on his desk: Liu Boyan's notebook and several letters. Alice withdrew her gaze and sat down. She planned to call home. Alice's parents are both in New York City. After she and Liu Boyan got engaged, Liu Boyan moved back to New York, and their parents took their daughter to live with him and helped him take care of Liu Boyan. This trip to Beijing was specially planned by my parents. They want Alice and Liu Boyan to get married as soon as possible so that their parents can feel at ease. Alice called her father and told her parents that she and Liu Boyan were engaged, but the relationship between her and him was not that of boyfriend and girlfriend, but just ordinary friends. Her parents didn't blame her. Liu Jiang on the other side is correcting documents in the office. His secretary knocked on the door and came in. Minister Lu, your phone is ringing over and over again. Do you need to answer it? The secretary asked. Lu Jiang raised his eyelids and glanced at him. There was some irritation in his eyes. Lu Boyan would call him every 3 or 5 days to ask about his schedule. Lu Jiang was disgusted. He has been busy with work recently and can't spare any time to deal with Lu Boyan. Just take it and tell him I have something to do. Lu Jiang said, no matter what it is, let him ask you to do it for him. The secretary took the order and left. After a while, the secretary came back. His phone was smashed. Sorry, Minister Lu. I don't know much about this. The secretary said sincerely, he insists on calling in, and I really can't stop him. Lu Jiang rubbed his forehead. It's okay. Lu Jiang said, you go out first. Then, he picked up the phone and dialed Lu Boyan's number. The phone was answered quickly, and Lu Boyan's voice said, Every. What's the matter? Brother, I'm going to your club tonight to have fun, and you drink with me. Not tonight. What about tomorrow? No way. Lu Boyan seemed very anxious and his tone was much higher. Tomorrow is the weekend. Lu Jiang said forcefully. Lu Bai was speechless and remained silent. I'm very busy and don't have time to accompany you crazy. Lu Jiang said, where you want to go, you can tell your flight attendant or servant. Are you trying to deal with me? Lu Boyan said angrily, Lu Jiang, we are brothers. Since you know, don't mess around. Lu Jiang said coldly. Lu Boyan pondered for a moment, as if he was testing Jiang's words. Brother, do you really hate me? Lu Boyan suddenly asked, his tone softer, like a wounded child. Lu Jiang was silent for a few seconds. Immediately, his voice returned to calmness and he said, yes. 4.2 Lu Boyan asked again, who do you like? My sister, your fiancé, or the girl you like? My business has nothing to do with you. Lu Jiang said, Boyan, you shouldn't disturb my private life. We are half-brothers. Then you'd better not call me brother. Lu Jiang said, this generational system is messed up. When you marry a wife in the future, don't call her by the wrong name. I can't afford to embarrass that person. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.